On. Okay, so today, as anyone who's been waiting for this will realise, we're talking about One Piece today. Not the live action, we're talking about the anime. Something actually good for a change, considering we just had things come out like the Rebel Moon Director's Twaddler edition that is like 5,000 hours long, or seems like it. Now we're actually going to talk about something good. Now I am joined here by Knights of Baller, who apparently likes this kind of stuff. So what we're probably going to do, I mean, how do you think is the best way to go? By episode, right? By episode, and then just discuss that? Or do you have any general thoughts on it that you might want to share beforehand?
I mean, first of all, have you seen your live stream, just how it's set up? It looks a bit odd on the YouTube.
Oh, yes, sorry. That's because I'm an idiot. There you go. That's what.
There you go. I was just checking to see how it was going. But secondly, yeah, hiya. It's me, the guy that didn't watch Deadpool, although no, I have. But but anyway, yeah, no, One Piece. I was like basically bitching and moaning at Mayo and many other people for a long time to watch it because it is like the best story ever made. So that's I think that encapsulates my feelings of One Piece. It is absolutely phenomenal. I'm not like insane about it. I have criticisms of One Piece, and when I was watching it with my best friend when I got him into it, as and when they came up, I would quite often point them out. But I feel that those issues are very minor. There's a few big ones, but I guess as they come up, we'll get to that. Although I don't think there's really any in like the East Blue that I think a lot of them are in the next saga. If I was going to talk about them. Okay. I mean, there are some issues in East Blue, but yeah, East Blue. Well, I think we'll go through it in order. But if you wanted like my basic thing of like the East Blue saga specifically, I really enjoy it. I think there's some phenomenal stuff in there. I do think it is definitely the introduction to One Piece, and it's probably the weakest saga. But that's not saying it's bad. It's just basically it just gets better and better essentially.
I agree. Now, one of the good things you got to remember about this is that, as we kind of just mentioned, that we're going to do it by kind of saga. We're going to go by arcs, not necessarily specific episodes, or probably swap between the two. Is that you can't really think of One Piece as episodic. It is literally about 4 or 5 episodes. That is essentially its own story, introduction to a character, etc., etc. So we'll do the best that we can. The other thing about anyone's been watching this on Netflix is that all the episodes have no names on there for some reason. They didn't include it, so I do have the list on another screen here, and I'll introduce them as the episode titles. So what we do then is start off with episode 1, which is called I'm Going to Be the King of the Pirates.
Very fitting.
Yeah, so it starts off. Now, actually, bear with me. I'm just bringing the episode up on my phone. We're going to just click 10-second intervals. I can't do it on here because I'm obviously concerned about copyrights. But do we start off with the barrel?
I mean, I'm encyclopedia about One Piece. Yes, we start. Actually, it starts out with the overview of the ship, doesn't it? It's got that little party going on.
Yes, so it looks like it's a cruise ship, is it?
Yes, it is. It is essentially a cruise ship. If you wanted some trivia, not that this is really, we're I'm assuming, Mayor, that you agree that we'll be talking about the specifically the anime. So anything else is more like trivia. But it's funny. It's interesting to note, as I've been reading the manga like after the fact just to see, because I a new way of experiencing it.
Right.
The manga starts very differently because first of all, it actually starts with the Luffy flashback we get in episode 4. Is it? You
mean when Luffy's a kid and he's basically everyone's telling him, "Oh, you're just a kid. You're never going to survive out there," etc., etc.
Yeah. So it actually starts with that whole stuff with him and Shanks. So that actually is the first one, but this stuff that happens with Luffy with Alvida, which we'll go through the actual episode, but that actually happens on Alvida's island, not on a ship. It's just interesting how they changed it for the anime.
Okay. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got the episode up now. So yeah, we start on the ship. A couple of the sailor people kind of see there's a barrel out there.
Yeah, and the hocus
Who?
moves.
I mean, this is obviously foreshadowing, but whoever could that be? There's some dining. We see Nami for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
They bring the go on.
Introduces her like sneakiness and her like opportunistic side to her. But then obviously at that point you don't know who she is. It's a nice. It's one of those things where when you watch it, you're like, oh, she's like a main character because it's just she's so obviously one. But it's like they don't really do anything to make it like too just like what would you call it, like overt. Like you just notice her as a very like a character to sort of like look at because she's in quite a few scenes just in like doing her own thing.
Yeah, so it's very much whoever could this be type of thing, and it takes its time in introducing everyone. But to be fair, it's only like 5-10 minutes in, and the inciting incident starts where the cruise ship gets bombarded with cannibals, and you see what's his name, pink-haired guy.
Kobe.
Yeah. So, interesting thing here. Now, compared to the live action, I kind of thought, oh, it's diversity higher, etc., etc., because I kind of gone into it blind. But the pirate captain, the woman, it's actually quite accurate to what's in there. Basically, has a club or something, and is basically ruling the ship by fear, and the pirates. They're basically taking over the ship.
It's a raid. It's setting up the fact that pirates are very prominent in this world because when like the moment they see the pirate flag, there's no like, is that a pirate? They just immediately go like, oh shit, it's a pirate, and then they start panicking because, you know, why wouldn't you with the reputation that pirates have essentially? Because they be doing their pirating stuff.
Yeah. And the main thing that happens at the moment, and this is the first thing that I have a slight, not issue with, but I kind of prefer one slightly over the other, but it's a very minute thing, is with Kobe, the way he meets Luffy. Now, in the live action, I believe Luffy is kind of bringing Kobe on, like saying you need to follow your dreams and all that kind of stuff. But in the anime, Kobe is the one who kind of realizes I need to be the one to step up here and I need to realize my dreams. Not much of an issue there, but I kind of feel Luffy is kind of just messing about as opposed to the live action where Luffy is very he's the one like, okay, we need to like, you know, do something here. Am I right in that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, they're very slight different interpretation of the character. The Netflix one is how would you call it? He is fractionally. He's like a little bit more of a traditional hero to a degree, whereas in the original, in the source material, Luffy is very much a pirate. He is, I'm doing what I want. Like the reason he helps Kobe out is because he ends up liking Kobe, not because he feels that he should help Kobe. Right. There's no like there's no altruism there. He's not, I want to help this kid out. It is when Kobe like sticks up for himself. Luffy's like, I like this kid now. He's pretty cool. I'm gonna help him because I want to, not because he thinks he should. But obviously in the live action one, he is very much trying to like convince Kobe to follow his dreams and to like blah blah thing. And Alvida's not a nice lady and stuff like that. Whereas in the anime, Luffy's like, I want to hit this lady because she's pissing me off.
Right.
It's very, they are different characters. It's just it's still very much an interpretation of Luffy rather than what the Netflix usually do, of just make up someone else and then call them something else.
Right.
The same thing, sorry, I should say.
So, I'm skipping ahead slightly here. So, what I believe is happening as well is that Kobe is kind of trying to prove himself in a way that he doesn't want to die or anything because, the captain's very strict and, like, if he kind of fails and is, like, a wuss or anything, then he's either going to be thrown overboard, killed, Negan style type of thing or whatever.
Well, he's used to abuse, isn't he? Because the first thing we see happen is him not want to jump over and then Alvida boot him across to the other ship.
Yeah.
That's like the first scene together.
So he's finding this barrel and he's trying to like bring it over to the ship, and like, by the way, I see what I can do. Even though he's trying to like go to the most empty room he can possibly find. He finds the barrels, and then his shipmates come in and like, oh yeah, we're just gonna take this for ourselves and take all the
we just went Pala Vida.
Yeah. And this barrel, it's kind of heavy. What can be in it? And then let's just pull this forward. And that's where we meet Luffy.
It's very much just a joke of just these guys about to open the barrel, and then literally at the exact moment, Luffy just happens to wake up and bounce out.
Yeah. And the animation here is very. Everything is dialed up to like 20 out of 10. Like when you have the kind of thing of jaw dropping, the jaws actually do drop and go all the way to the ground type of thing. Eyeballs popping out and stuff.
It's very cartoony universe and aesthetics. Yes, Oda, who wrote the original One Piece, is inspired by a lot of like Disney stuff and old manga and that, which is very obviously expressive. And although he writes like lots of serious stories, he has a big philosophy of like a lot of shit takes himself too seriously, and he doesn't want to do that. So even like his serious moments are serious, but he likes to have a lot of the fun stuff because he wants the audience to have a good time.
Right. So yeah, Luffy breaks out. The pirates like, what the hell is going on here? Let's beat up this kid. And Luffy just like hands their asses to them. The guys are like running away, trying to find like let's get some help here or something. And Colby is like, what are you? Like, he's just spellbound. I'm just looking, and he's kind of shouting at him. And Luffy is like, oh yeah, we need to take care of stuff, let's get the food and all that kind of stuff. And Kobe's like, no, we can't, we're gonna get killed.
Yeah, Kobe's basically, you've got to get out of here. If Alvida finds us, she'll kill us. And then Luffy's just like absolutely not giving a fuck at all. He's genuinely really just is like, I'm gonna go get food. Kobe's like, come this way. And then Luffy, in the scene, I think Kobe's like grabbing onto his arm, and Luffy's just walking with basically no issues whatsoever. And Kobe is just like, what the hell's happening? It's very much, it's kind of the opposite of a lot of other starts to the stories, where instead of the our protagonist, because obviously in this case it's Luffy, having like the outside world come to him, he very much is the one that's going to it. So that's why we have Kobe as like the juxtaposition. So Luffy essentially invades his like small world, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And because Luffy is a larger than life character, he is very he's very loud. He's very proactive. He absolutely is not timid. He doesn't need to learn about the world, even though he is learning about the world because he's lived on one island his whole life. But he's not your traditional, let's say, like anime protagonist where they're like everything needs to be explained to them. Luffy will just usually sort of see it as it comes. He learns about the islands themselves, but he's not like a student in this world.
Yeah, and at this point, while Luffy is just like, I don't give a damn about anything, I just want food, and just like consuming pretty much everything he can find, Kobe is trying to tell the story of what's going on, like how it's being treated on the ship and stuff. And Luffy's like, well, I'm a pirate, and like I don't care, I follow my dreams and stuff, and I'll die by that, and that's fine. And he just like basically keeps on eating, and Kobe's just in the corner just like freaking crying until I believe this is the point where well, I mean, Kobe being there is a joke as well. We find in that Luffy's like, wait, if you don't like pirates, why the hell are you on a pirate ship? And then he's like, oh, I got on a fishing boat, but it ended up being a pirate ship, and now I'm here. And like I said, very much the humor is very front and center in One Piece, even though there's a real an incredible story there as well. But yeah, it's very much is like Kobe's in this unfortunate situation that's absolutely scary, and he's terrified of dying. However, he is here because of a mistake, and it's kind of funny. Yeah.
And it's like, you're a moron. It's like, please don't, I know.
And while this is going on, while they're having this chat, the other pirates got on deck, and he's like trying to get through a very small hole together, like very cartoony. And the captain is one of these that it's not a trope that I like, but I kind of get it here. It's done probably for the cartoon and like fun factor that she essentially like, what are you talking about? There's no such thing or whatever it is, and she just hits them with a club, like she just beats up the her subordinates.
I get it. I mean, she doesn't kill them though. I mean, and she's very much like throwing her weight around, like she is in charge because she is stronger than everyone else. So she's ruling through fear, which is obviously why, apart from literally the fact that she's a chungus, she hasn't really got much to it other than being a beefy gal with a hefty wallop behind her, which is still quite terrifying. But it's she's very much is like the level 1 baddie.
Yeah. And again, it goes back to Luffy and Colby, where Colby is like really desperately trying to get the idea into Luffy that, look, we're going to die if we do anything here, and Luffy's like la 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 la, and he just walks out. And this is where Colby has the realization of, oh no, sorry, nope, the captain. She comes down. He's scared. He's like bowing down to her. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. And Luffy, for the first time, we see his devil fruit powers, which is Rubber Man, which is cool.
Yeah, Luffy has eaten the gum fruit allegedly, and he is made of rubber.
Yeah. So he beats the hell out of them, challenges the captain and everything. And it,
well, I mean,
yeah.
It's very much, again, we have the thing of Kobe being like, wait, is he serious? But then the moment he's confronted by Alvida, he goes timid again and goes like, oh no, Captain, I'm not with him, blah blah blah. And then Luffy just goes like, yeah, what does he say? Oh, who's this fat lady or something like that? And then the whole crew just goes, oh fuck, he's pissed her off. And then
but at this point, I'm seeing that Colby is like, hang on a minute, this guy doesn't give a damn. He's fine.
Yeah.
And like, don't treat me this way. This is not okay.
He does like a little speech, and he calls her like he calls like sort of like a sea cow or something like that. And then that's the thing that makes Luffy like him.
Yeah, and
because I think at the start Luffy reacts by saying like, I hate guys like you because he's so timid and like doesn't like not proactive, which is a very Luffy thing to do. Luffy. Like, obviously, Luffy doesn't hate him, but basically, Luffy doesn't really before then doesn't really think that Kobe is kind of really worth, really, like he wouldn't be mean to him, but he's not really anyone like noteworthy to Luffy at that point until he says that to Alvida.
Okay.
And then he's on like Luffy's radar essentially as like, hey, this guy's alright.
Yeah. So I can't remember whether you was in the conversation last night, Baller, but I just got the comments in the chat right now from Horaimi, is it? One Piece was so good before the time skip. Now, when I mentioned this last night, everyone was like, what? Never really heard that. So this is the kind of thing I've been getting. What's the difference between pre and post time skip?
You mean like as far as my thing? I guess depends on what you're like watching it for or what you think. There is, see, I don't think they go away, but they're away. One Piece very much feels more comedy sketch oriented before the time skip. Like there's a lot of like silly moments and things like that where the crew are messing around. Like a lot of people miss the banter that happens on the Going Merry and all that stuff, which is totally true because after the time skip, One Piece very much expands and we get these more grandiose stories. And there's, I mean, I still think it's wrong when people say there's loads of like it doesn't. There's not as many character interaction moments. They're just usually in the really big stories. What One Piece goes from like a very personal journey with like Luffy and the crew to like them getting involved in like the world. Like their actions change the world a lot more in the post time skip, and it's just the nature of the story progressing. I know a lot of people saying that they miss the old style of humor in One Piece, and I can see that. In fact, I do rewatching the early One Piece with my girlfriend and my best friend. Like we're getting through that. Like it is like it's nice to go back to those really funny moments. But yeah, I don't think One Piece gets worse after the time skip. In fact, I don't think it gets better or worse. I think it just progresses.
Right. Just
and some of my favorite moments in One Piece on like a character level is in the post time skip stuff. Like I think some of the most I guess like engaging like storylines in One Piece happen in the post time skip, which is it's a bit too battle focused in my opinion. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, no, you're totally right. It very much it turns very much into the world politics. So things are turning they're getting involved in bigger and bigger storylines. So how would you say it, May? Like without like spoiling stuff for you, but let's just say say Arlong Park, where there's a lot of fighting in that, but there's also the gang hanging out, and there's just like the hijinks, and even the stuff with like Usopp before the guys get there. You know what I mean? That's a lot of that's played for laughs, and
So
and it's more
the
them getting
question
around.
the question I would pose to that, again, not knowing what happens because I've only got to the introduction of
You finished Drum Kingdom.
yeah, just finished that. And what I would say about the battle scenes and everything in the earliest seasons, from what I can see, is even though there is battle going on and it takes about 4 or 5 episodes to go through just a simple ish battle, it is still going through origin stories and why the reason why they hate this person is why they're fighting, and keep skipping back and forth and stuff, so that it
that
isn't
doesn't
just
stop.
it isn't just the fight scenes. It's the fact that you're getting the whole picture as you go through it. Might take a bit more longer, but that's the thing about One Piece that I'm finding. You just got to take your time with it. You don't need to just get through the battle. And if it's a case of post, I don't know. This is me asking a question. If it is less like that and it is just like battle after battle, then that's kind of, I get why people
I
probably
mean,
not.
I think the battles are just longer and things are happening because well, let's just take like one of the longest arcs, which is Dressrosa. There's 118 episodes, more or less. Like the final 2/3 of that entire arc is essentially one massive battle that's happening all over the island. And but there's so many different characters, and basically every named character has at least like a modicum of a flashback. There's a group. I'm trying to think of like major flashbacks. We'll say, you know what I mean, like when you have episodes focused around characters.
Right.
In Dressrosa, there's you have Toy Soldier, you have Law, you have Doflamingo, you have Corazon. You even have a little thing with oh no, who's my Chad? Who's my ultimate Chad? The baby man. Fuck. Senor Pink. Yeah. So that doesn't stop at all. One Piece. The flashbacks are very integral to the story. That's just Oda's like writing style that never stops.
Yeah, I agree. Right. So anyway, getting back to episode 1. Kobe is like, don't want to do this anymore. I don't like you. This has to stop, etc., etc. And then she's like, actually, no, you don't speak like that to me. There's a Negan thing. Tries to hit him on the head, and then this is where Luffy steps in, and then starts beating everyone up.
Yeah, it's very much a not like well, I mean, it is a fight, but it's not really a fight. Luffy just wins because Luffy is just awesome. Basically, he's so strong.
Yeah.
So Alvida's like, again, like you can see it like to like a regular guy. Alvida's terrifying, but Luffy, who is like somebody with any strength, is just like no, and it very much sets the tone. So I mean, obviously you don't really get it in this episode, let's say, but Luffy is very much an OP character in a world full of people that are even more OP than he is, essentially.
Yeah, because when you get into later episodes, it's like you get swarms and swarms of government people, and then like just with one kick, you get people like Sanji, just like, yep, done, next type of thing. Just trying to get the settings so I can get subtitles.
We'll go through it in order, but it's just like quickly. It's like even the fishmen. The fishmen are like probably the hardest enemies they fight. On like before they get to Smoker, but obviously he's in the league of his own. But it's like that's more because they fight in their element by the water rather than like in the one-on-one. Like we see Sanji with that guy and he just like dominates him, but the moment it's in the water he's fucked, and then that's just like he's in his prime. But yeah, so like Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji are all ridiculously powerful, and it's just like, but they're not OP, I will say, because they're in a world of other OP people, and then as we progress through even East Blue, we see like they are like outclassed by people like like Mihawk and Smoker and stuff like that.
Yeah, So yeah, he fights them all, and then they got onto this little boat in an escape. There's this one split second where Luffy catches Nami's eye, like what's going on there, and then they have a conversation over. So Luffy, what the hell are you doing? Oh yeah, want to become king of the pirates, and basically
I'm looking for the One Piece.
Yeah.
He's like, you're trying to find the One Piece? And then he's like, people will die doing that. And Luffy's just like laughing, like, yes, yeah, it'll be fun. Why shouldn't it? Blah, blah, blah. And then Kobe's just like, how could you be so confident? And Luffy's just like, what do you mean? And he's so casual about it. It's great.
Yeah. And then essentially that episode ends with the kind of flash forward of Zoro, the sword guy.
Yeah, I think they basically just mention that he exists, and then Luffy goes, "Oh, we should check him out. It sounds interesting." And then Kobe's like starting to panic again, being like, "He's a ruthless, blah blah blah." Then Luffy's just like, "Wow, that sounds awesome." He's like, "No!" And then that's kind of we get the end, and then obviously we get the guitar riff, which in the early series is, like Zoro has a weird like guitar riff as like part of his like soundtrack, and then it just kind of goes away, which is really funny.
Yeah.
Every so often you'll hear like a guitar riff. I think the last time you hear it actually is in Drum Island. It's just kind of funny.
Nice. So yeah, we're on the second episode called I can never pronounce his first name.
Rowanoa.
Yeah, Rowanoa Zoro, Pirate Hunter. One thing I also forgot to mention, I just saw the subtitles as well, is that Colby, he wants to be part of the Marines. So basically,
yeah, that's Kobe's dream, and Luffy's just like, you should do it then. And then Kobe's like, I can't just do it, and Luffy's like, why not?
Yeah, which is one of the reasons why I do like Luffy, and there's a couple of reasons why I don't, which we'll get into later. But one of the things about Luffy is that if this is your dream, he will always encourage it, because what this would mean for Colby and Luffy is that if Colby were to follow his dreams, then they would have to be enemies. They'd still like each other, but they'll be on opposite sides. And anyone else, I feel, would say, look, no, we're not going to be friends. I'd have to fight you. What's the point in doing that? And an argument would break out. But Luffy's like, yep, that's what you want to do. Fine. I'm not going to stop you.
Well, I think if nothing else, Luffy encourages him to do it. He's like, if you want to do it, that sounds awesome. But then, and then Kobe's like, but you're a pirate. And Luffy's like,
yeah,
your point. It's like, right, okay. He's such an interesting guy.
It's very charming. So
He's
yeah,
very innocent, Luffy is.
Yeah, starts the episode. Kobe's going on about Zoro. Yeah, basically a story. They go and land.
Yeah, they just have the thing. They find the wanted posters, and Luffy's like going, "Why don't I have a wanted poster even though he's been sailing for like a day?" And and then we have the little story we hear about Zoro and where he is.
Yeah, everyone runs away from them.
When they mention his name, somebody just says, we want to talk about Zoro," and then everyone goes silent. And Kobe goes, "You can't just say those. You can't just say that." And then do they say it, or does somebody over here? I can't 100% remember, but they end up going to where Zoro is and looking over the fence, seeing him tied up.
It looks like they actually say Zoro's name, and everyone just runs away.
I think they do that thing where they do the cartoony, like they all sort of like teleport backwards, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hang on. Well, the point is, though, is that obviously everyone... Zoro's his reputation is very scary.
Yeah. So they come up to where Zoro's being held, crucifixion style. And they're like, let's do this. And like Colby's like, oh my god, like this is dangerous. And Luffy's like, yeah, I don't care.
Well, so first of all, we have the little girl, don't we?
Oh yeah.
So the little girl is there as well. So the scene is they look at him, they're talking about it. Luffy's like, I'm going to talk to him. Kobe's like, you can't. He's a dangerous. Blah blah blah. And then the girl comes, goes. She goes over, tries to give him rice balls, and then Helmeppo comes out. You know that piece of shit at this point, and then we have the scene where he steals a bit of her food, goes, "Oh my god, you've used sugar. What the fuck is wrong with you?" And then like starts treading on her food and makes her cry, and then he gets his soldiers to like throw her over the thing, which Luffy catches, and then that earns him a bit of respect from like the mom and that when they go back and say thanks for helping my daughter and that. But But yeah, and then when we get back to the restaurant or the bar or whatever it is, that's when we get the little flashback of Zoro about what happened in the town.
Yeah. Before that happens, little girl, basically the Marines come in and like get the hell out of here. Basically getting in trouble from feeding this guy. Basically Zoro basically wants to sorry, trying to get words out here. He's basically trying to do the time, in that he's trying to save other people, but she's basically...
Is it like I can't remember the number exactly because it ends up not being important. But is it like he has to stay there for like 10 days or 20 days or something like that without food and water?
Yes,
it's actually the challenge.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think it's specifically for food, though, is it? I think it's just the fact that he's going to survive that amount of days, and they're trying to make him not eat so he doesn't survive
I'm
it.
sure. Well, I'm sure they say they're not like giving him any food and water, and people aren't allowed to help him because it's just basically we're leaving you there.
Right. So yeah, they basically want to throw her over the wall, and then Luffy comes in. They walk away.
Yeah, then they go back, and then they get the flashback.
Yeah. So yeah, they're talking about it. Flashback. Basically, the Marines are like going after that family, and so I was like, okay, I'll go and do the 7-10 days, whatever, in their place. That's what brings them to there. So because it's the thing about One Piece, especially when you're just starting out in it, there's so much to take in that don't retain it all. Yeah, find out he's a bounty hunter. He's basically telling Luffy, just go away, go away, go away. I need to do this.
Yeah, then Luffy's like, you're gonna join my crew. No, I'm not. Yeah, but I think you should because it'd be fun. And then he's like, but that's not a reason. And Luffy's like, yeah, I'm gonna ignore you. And I think he basically says, I'll get your sword and you'll join my crew. And Zoro's like, I didn't agree to that. And Luffy's kind of already gone. Well, it's actually Luffy goes the wrong direction and then he flies back with his stretchy powers. And then Zoro's like, what the fuck is with this guy?
Filthy Casual just said that it's blasphemy to say, but he likes live action better in this because it's more streamlined.
Live action is really good.
I kind of agree to a point. Even though it's streamlined, I think you're missing out on the full well, not necessarily the backstory, but you miss a lot.
I think the live action is the best adaptation you could possibly get with making it as in the story is as far as I can think of because it's really good and they I like what they add. I know we're not good doing it, but we'll just have like a quick thing of my opinion on it because obviously we thought with it being Netflix it was going to be terrible. So last summer we were like, all right, let's record this and we'll have it. And then we started watching it. We're like, wait, this is good. What the fuck's happening? We were very confused, but in a good way. And then, but it is very streamlined. It's a very good way of portraying it. It's very respectful to the source material. I definitely wouldn't say that I think it's better. I think there's loads of stuff like you just said. There's a lot of context and things that are added, but I very much think the live action is a very respectful adaptation of the manga, I should say, you know, but of the source material. And anyone saying that they preferred it, I don't blame you because there's lots of good things in there. It's a very good adaptation.
Oh yeah. It's kind of like reading the book. I mean, even though anime isn't book, it's kind of like reading the book and then watching the movie and then finding out there's a load of stuff that's been...
Yeah, that is true, by the way, just from Harame, just saying that Zoro telling Luffy that he's going the wrong way is like, wait a minute, Zoro knowing directions? This is retconned later. Zoro is notoriously bad with directions, and it is a running joke, but that doesn't kind of really happen till kind of later.
Yeah.
Very much added in.
And then we're introduced to the steel jaw guy. Who's that again?
Captain Morgan.
Yeah.
Accent Morgan.
Yeah.
He's a dick. To put it basically.
He is a bit of
he's a very egocentric character and he thinks he's amazing and everyone should bow down to him. And if you don't listen to him, then you're breaking the law. He's a very indicative of the bad side of the Marines. One of the things I will say that I really like about One Piece, and I keep saying that with it a lot of times, but because there's a lot of things I like about One Piece, but I'll just moving on. Um, I like how they show that both the pirates and the Marines can be fucks, but also shows how both the pirates and the Marines can also be good. Like it shows like it's like people are who are flawed, not just if you are part of Group X, then you are bad or good. It's like no. There are people that join the Marines for good and bad reasons, and there's people that become pirates for good and bad reasons, and then then there's people in the middle, and it's One Piece for saying it's a very how do you call it, like whimsical story. It's very nuanced in terms of that. Like we'll get to it later, obviously, but like Smoker, genuinely good guy, even though he's an antagonist to Luffy, but he is a genuine Marine. He wants to help people, whereas obviously we have Accent Morgan here, who is a dick.
Yeah. Honestly, half the time when I'm watching it, I kind of forget that Luffy and the Straw Hats, that they are pirates, because they don't act anything like a stereotypical pirate does. They're just out for adventure and that's it. They're not like, I mean, obviously they need to earn their way, they need to get food and stuff, so that's what they do, but they're not like, I don't know, Captain Hook type pirates type of thing.
I think the thing is that I very much say this as a thing of like I see the group as very much pirates, but they're good people, but they are very I don't know, how would you say it? I don't want to say like purely selfish, because like they aren't. They like to help people, but basically they do things because they want to. So if somebody says you should do this thing you don't want to do because it's good, they'll be like, yeah, but we don't want to do that, so fuck you. But then if it's like they want to help somebody because they like them, like hence like Syrup Village, where they choose to help Usopp because they like Usopp. It's like, yeah, but they like Usopp, he's a decent guy, and they want to help him, and helping the village is like a bonus because they are decent people. But it's like they are, like, unironically, they would have probably just moved on if it wasn't for Usopp, because it wasn't their fight.
Right.
And they're a very interesting group, but I know what you mean. They aren't the traditional. I mean, like obviously we have like the traditional evil pirates like Alvida and stuff like that, and what do you call it? Krieg and all that jazz.
Right. Hang on. Let me just turn. I just realised what's going on. Can anyone in chat just tell me if there's an echo, because I think I just realised what's going on. 1 second. Okay, see if that helps. Alright, say something.
Hello.
Yeah, that's gone away. Essentially, I didn't. My headphones are so good that I didn't realize that the audio was going on my laptop, so that was still coming through the microphone. So you kind of heard you twice a lot.
In fairness, I am that awesome that people need to hear me twice, so I think it's I think it's fine.
Right.
I'm not egotistical at all, but I have no other way to end this sentence.
Kind of sounds like the guy here who is erecting a statue of himself with the Marines.
I am fully erect. No, anyway.
It's okay.
We are talking about One Piece after all.
This isn't necessarily a family-friendly stream, so it's fine.
It's not a family-friendly stream. If you have children, hide them away now, but show them One Piece.
Yes, One Piece good.
2 Piece bad.
3 Piece even worse. So yeah, Luffy is basically coming up to this guy with the... Sorry, what was his name again? The steel jaw?
Accent Morgan.
Yeah, so he's bringing himself up to the statue, and the statue is coming down.
Yeah, they are. While wait, no, we've missed a step, haven't we? Actually.
Have we?
Oh, by the way, they said that you're a bit quiet. The chat has.
Hold on. How about now?
But I'm deaf. There you go. We'll have to wait till they get this. But you are a bit louder, in fairness. But
it's okay. I was a bit too far away from the microphone, so I'm just right up against it now. If that helps.
I've just realised that I think I missed a scene because we just went straight to Luffy going back. Luffy in the bar does punch Helmeppo, doesn't he? When he realises when he gets Zoro, and Helmeppo laughs about the fact that they're going to kill Zoro anyway. And that's what sets Luffy to like start off his thing. But anyway, because during Luffy, just as Luffy is like going to go and find Zoro's sword, we have the scene of Morgan getting his men to like erect a statue, bring it up, and then Helmepper comes in bitching, and then Morgan, knocks him down and calls him a bitch, basically, and then says, "Why didn't you kill the little girl?" And you're like, this guy is evil. He is bad guy. My goodness.
Right.
Like he is cartoonishly evil. He's bad Marine. He dick, and you're like, he bad guy. Luffy smash, and it's like, yeah, we wait for Luffy to smash, and it's One Piece starts out very simple and adds the complications like as it goes on. I think it has a very good progression just for the audience to get used to the world. But yeah. So we're in the scene where Helmepper comes in to go, "Daddy, he hit me," and I think that's where we got to.
Yeah, and he basically says, "Well, what of it? You're basically a wuss, right?"
Yeah, he's like, "I don't care about you. The only reason, like, I don't, smack you around is because you're my son, but I don't like you." And he's, like, very blunt with him. And Helmepper's like, "Aw, dude, I thought we were friends, Dad." And it's like, "Nah, fuck you."
Yeah, and what is happening, everyone's running around, and Nami's trying to get to whatever she's trying to get to.
Nami's trying to steal her map of the Grand Line, isn't she? Or is it? Wait, yeah.
Oh no, she's freeing Zoro. How we never intended to...
No, she's not in this episode.
Oh no, sorry, Luffy. He keeps cutting.
That's the live action one. Nami doesn't appear again to Orange Island.
No.
Well, actually, it was before then because we have the flash. We have the cutaway to her at sea, but.
Right. No, I'm getting it wrong. So Kobe's the one basically trying to free Zoro.
Yeah. Kobe's having his moment again where he's freeing Zoro. Zoro goes, "Hey, I've only got like 3 days left." Blah blah blah. And then Kobe says, "No, they're going to kill you." And Zoro's like, "Oh, wait, what? What the fuck?" And then the Marines turn up and they're about to shoot Kobe. But we also have the little bit where Luffy knocks over Morgan's statue. Morgan's like, "Kill that man!" And then Luffy just takes Helmepper hostage and then runs off with him.
Yeah.
Then grabs Zoro's swords because there's 3 of them and he doesn't realize they're all Zoro's.
And while Kobe's trying to free Zoro, I was explaining to him that Luffy did punch the guy in the face and he's actually trying to defend you and stuff. And it's like, oh really? Is he? And this is where Zoro slowly turns around to maybe not. He's not such a an idiot after all. And
well, I think Zoro is more on the fence of because he's a pirate hunter, he's a bounty hunter, and he's just like, well, if Luffy's a pirate, then even if Zoro wouldn't really want to hunt him because he hasn't got a bounty, he's like, well, pirates are just annoying and not very driven and stuff like that. And then obviously, the basically everything he learns about Luffy brings him around to wait, Luffy's actually first of all, he's a good guy, and secondly, wait, no, he's an interesting guy, and he is somebody worth listening to and things like that. Because Zoro operates by respect, doesn't he? He's like when he joins Luffy's crew. I know we're jumping ahead a bit, but when he does, he's in his mind. Zoro's Luffy is the only man in the world that he would consider above him. Everyone else is, either an opponent or not important. But as Luffy is someone he acknowledges as a captain, well, I mean, it's important to a arc later. You've not got to, but yeah, that's how Zoro sees Luffy, and it's just starting his turning around. But then obviously we get to the joke later where we find out where Zoro assumes that Luffy has more people in his crew.
Yeah. And Luffy finds 3 swords.
And you're like, which one's Zoro's? Helmepper's absolutely dizzy and fuck because he's been dragged around. Luffy's like, I'll just grab all 3 and jump out the window, as you do.
Yeah, and I believe because Luffy was punching the guy, they will go down to Zoro and essentially about to be shot. This is what happens when people defy us, kind of thing. Pretty standard, I think.
I have a little bit of an issue with this. It's a very small issue, but I will say, when Luffy jumps down and takes the bullets, I'm like, wow, how lucky that everyone was in that Luffy-shaped outline, did not hit the guys behind him.
Yeah, it's the whole thing when someone has a chest plate or something, and no one ever just aims for the head. It's always at the one point where there's freaking armor, and it never seems to work.
It's not a massive deal, but every time I watch that scene, I am always just like, man, how fucking lucky.
Yeah. So they all go behind him. So the bullets go all rubbery, and they go behind him, and then he releases them.
then they go, "Oh my God, what's with that guy?" And then we start to see the fact that some people know about these devil fruits more than others because it's obviously more prevalent on the Grand Line and stuff. Because obviously Alvida and that was just like completely out, like what the fuck. And then we have Morgan being like, I must have eaten one of those fruits of the devil, and blah blah blah, doesn't he? And you're like, the Marines do know about this, even if they haven't seen them personally and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So again, the world building is very gradual in One Piece, which is very good for the audience because of how much shit there is to learn.
It is, but at that point when Luffy takes the bullets and that's when the episode ends.
Yeah.
So going to the next one. So description is Zoro and Luffy work together to defeat Morgan and the team. Despite the relationship with Luffy and Zoro, Kobe wishes to join the Marines. Yeah.
So we start with that scene, and then I like how again we see Luffy as being the bit of the pirate that he is, where he says, "Hey, I'll return your swords, but if you do that, you'll have to join me." And then he's like, sort of like half joking about like, I'll let you die if you don't join me, which I don't think he would have, but it's still funny to hear him say it. And then Zoro just points out, "Well, if I help you anyway, I'm going to be an enemy of the Marines regardless, so I might as well. I will be joining you." And then Luffy's just like, "Yeah!" And then at that point, it's really bad and fails to untie him for quite a while. It's quite funny.
And then again, he hands the swords to him. Like, I didn't know which one was yours, so I just brought them all down.
He's like, "They're all mine." And Luffy's like, "Oh, neat."
Yeah.
And he has that pause where he just goes, "You use 3 swords," and then he's like, "Awesome, that sounds cool. You definitely need to join me now. That sounds interesting." Also, yeah, we just had a thing of like for the build-up. Horiyama just says like East Blue has very few devil fruits. Yes, I believe we have Luffy, Buggy, Smoker, and Alvida later. I think that actually technically there's 5, but one of them we don't really even now we're not quite sure what fucking devil fruit that guy has, but we know he has one.
Yeah, a good point there in chat is that we actually don't see many of the devil fruits, but as soon as I started entering the Grand Line, it just feels like everyone and their mother just happens to have eaten one.
Sorry, what's that? No, sorry, I was just reading the chat, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, in the chat, Hariyami, I think you pronounce that. East Blue was very few devil fruits, Buckley,
yeah, that's what I was, yeah. There's the total of 5, 4 of which are named.
Yeah, and also, I mean, getting ahead of ourselves here, but that organization with the number 1, number 2, number 3, and all that, they all have devil fruits, and it just seems like
they don't all have devil fruits, but you haven't got there yet.
Right, but it just seems that when you get to the Grand Line, it's like everyone and their mother seems to have like had one type of thing so far, like with the deer.
Yeah, I mean,
chopper.
I mean, it makes. I mean, there are a lot of devil fruits. It's just when you compare them to how many people are alive in the world, it's just like they're very rare. It's like the idea of let's say like in the real world, there's like 7 billion people on the planet. It would be like if like a million of them have superpowers. That's still a shit ton of people. However, when you compare it to the amount of people that exist, you know what I mean? That's kind of how it is in One Piece.
Right.
The numbers are different, obviously, because One Piece is a way smaller world. But I mean, those numbers aren't exact, but that's kind of how I envision it. But they also make a point that on the Grand Line, devil fruits, so they do that. They're more likely to appear on the Grand Line anyway, but they do appear all over the world.
Yeah. So they're all surprised at what just happened. It's like, oh, we must have had the devil fruit, and then this is where we get the explanation of what the devil fruits are. We kind of get the backstory of all that.
I mean, it's like a layman's explanation, but yeah, they do the thing of there's the fruits, and each one has a unique power. Then when somebody eats it, they gain that power, but then they're cursed by the sea, so they can't swim, and their energy is drained. It's the cliff notes, basically, because as the story goes on, we learn slightly more and more and more. But yeah, it's enough to get you going.
Yep. So while this is another thing as well, all of the Marines are just standing there while Luffy is just like, oh yeah, let's get these ropes off you and stuff. And it's like, it's just one thing has to happen at a time. Nothing can happen all at once.
I would say I disagree with that because they stop because they're freaking out that he was fucking a rubber man. So they wait until Morgan composes himself and tells them to charge, and then they charge.
Fine.
That's what happens in that scene. I'm not saying it never happens in One Piece because there are other scenes when that does happen. I just mean in that one particular scene, they freak out, go, oh my god, and then Morgan is explaining to them the devil fruits because obviously these Marines don't know much about them because you can assume that they're basically all recruits and stuff like that. And then he just goes, right, men, fucking charge anyway. And anyone that doesn't, I'll kill myself. And then they charge.
Yeah, and then Zoro gets his swords, and then he says, anyone take one more step and I'll kill you.
Oh, I love that line. And the Marines, it's scary.
Yeah, it actually is too scary. Like, that's not how people speak, but yeah, it's just funny the way they say that.
It's very fair. It's very amusing. Yeah, like I said, the humor is still front and center, even with the danger with what's going on. Oh yeah, we also had the scene that so we have the bit when they're fighting. Luffy does he hit Morgan at one point? I'm trying to remember the exact order it happens, but I'm just remembering the stuff with Helmepper that's funny as well, when he tries to take Kobe hostage. Then Luffy just not give a fuck, but I forget the order.
Don't know, but they're all talking right now, and this is where Zoro announces to everyone that he's trying to be the world's greatest swordsman.
Yeah, and then Luffy says, like, yeah, the King of the Pirates would have nothing less than the world's greatest swordsman. Because I think Zoro says, if you end up making me give up on my dream, I'll hold you personally responsible. And then Luffy's just like, that's fair. Like, again, I love him. He's just like, that seems like a fair trade.
Yeah. And then he just basically kicks them all. And Zoro's like, what the hell? You like a god or something? You're invincible? It's like, no, it's a devil's fruit, that's all.
I had the gum fruit.
Can't handle Zoro himself. No need to,
Yeah, I think he knocks Morgan down, doesn't he? Like Luffy does, I think is how it starts. And then Helmepper takes Sinky hostage, is that right? And then
no, he goes to punch him, and then he blocks his fist
with his axe, isn't it? Yeah.
With his axe. And everyone's like in shock. He goes down. Oh no, then he looks like he's about 100 feet high. Then Luffy knocks him down to the ground. Swords go up
and then I think we have Helmeppo going like isn't Luffy like beating him or something like this, and then Helmeppo's like, hey, Straw Hat, I have your friend, and then Luffy keeps beating him, and he's just like, hey, pay attention to me, I have a gun to your friend's head.
Yeah.
And then Luffy like goes, what? Okay, oh shit, wait, hang on, I'll just Kobe's not afraid to die. And then Kobe like says like, does the brave thing and says, don't worry about me, Straw Hat. And Luffy's like, yeah, anyway. And then Kobe's like, oh, fuck. But then, yeah.
Yeah, and they're all, the scene cuts to, they're all at a dinner table, and he says, oh yeah, you need to join my crew, and then there's a whole trope of, okay, then fine, I'll join it. So how many of your crew strong are you anyway?
I just want to say, it's like we've missed the thing, just as, it's not, I mean, obviously with the story after Luffy punches Helmeppo, Morgan's behind him, and then Zoro just like without anything just like cuts him down, and it's just like, and he has like just following orders, and we just have the start of them like having they're already getting used to each other. It's just like the nice little scene of they're already in sync as like a team, but it's not the most thingy. It's just a nice little moment, and then we have the scene where you said where he's just like, how many other people have you got on the crew? And Luffy just points at himself and Zoro.
Yeah, it's like, are you kidding? But yeah.
Yeah, and then we have the scene where they say like we don't want to arrest you because you've saved us, but you have to leave because you're pirates. And then they go like, wait, is Kobe not with you? And then we have the scene where Luffy goads Kobe into punching him.
Yeah.
To try to get him into the Marines, and it works. And it's a nice moment where the Marines can all know that Luffy's his friend, but they let it slide because first of all they know that Luffy's a good guy, and secondly they know that obviously Kobe doesn't want to be a pirate. So it's just a really like nice scene where again we see these good Marines that have just been under the thumb of a piece of shit that's just been really strong, and they can't really defy his orders because they know he'll just kill them.
Right. So after that, we kind of get the explanation of going to the red line. Caesar Choppy. So again,
the red line or the Grand Line?
It says the red line, which I don't remember.
Well, the red line is the landmass that cuts the Grand Line in half. The
Okay.
Grand Line is the
Oh
sea
yeah.
that they're going to.
So essentially, here's the explanation of this is where the One Piece treasure lies, and basically that's where they have to go. And everyone's like, "Hang on a minute, you can't because it's dangerous and you'll die and stuff."
Yeah, I think it's like a running thing throughout the entirety of the East Blue Saga. Like almost everyone they talked about the Grand Line is saying, "No, you'll die." Everyone that goes there, it's a pirate graveyard, and blah 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 blah. And then Luffy is just absolutely not bothered. Like he's not deterred by anything.
Yeah, and this is the funny thing with Luffy. Yeah, I don't know what to like think about him at this point. Is it just the fact that he's so brave that nothing phases him, or is it just naivety and stupidness, or mixture of both?
The Luffy values freedom above all else, which is very obviously it's the themes of One Piece is freedom is the good, you know, that is just the main theme of the show. But he is a very driven character, and he just thinks that his following his dreams are the most important thing ever. So Luffy is very rarely scared by anything. Like it's not that it never happens. Luffy is occasionally scared by stuff, but Luffy feels as a person that it's worth risking your life to achieve your dreams, and he thinks that if you don't, you've not lived a fulfilling life. I mean, it's not like a universal thing in One Piece. That's just like Luffy's philosophy, and obviously we see that it's reinforced by like his experiences with Shanks, and then later on with other people and stuff like that. But no, Luffy isn't. Luffy's not an idiot. People think he is, but he's not. Luffy just doesn't think things through.
Right.
So when Luffy ever does have a part of the story where he is forced to plan decisions, he's usually quite smart. It's just Luffy is an incredibly impulsive human being. So Luffy's already made up his mind to go to the Grand Line and look for the One Piece. It will not matter to him how many times people tell him it's dangerous. To him, he's like, well, it's worth it. And then in Luffy's mind as well, that he wants a good adventure. So him being like, it'll be dangerous and there'll be loads of shit trying to kill you and stop you. And Luffy's like, oh, that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
That's a story to tell. Yeah, and also Horiyama is right. Luffy is usually way more on edge when it comes to his someone he cares about being under threat than himself. But again,
Protects everyone.
well, Luffy is it's like if people are trying to like cut Luffy and stuff like that, Luffy will go like, "Oh, what are you doing? Oh shit, fuck!" And like in the moment, he might be like scared or on edge and stuff like that. But it's just he doesn't dwell on anything. So if he might be scared in the moment, but the moment is done, he's like back to just sort of chilling, I guess. Even if something makes Luffy what do we call it, a bit like trepidatious about fighting someone again, he will still do it, especially if his goal relies on him beating them. Okay. Which we see quite a lot happen in One Piece. Is usually so because Luffy gets his ass kicked quite a lot in One Piece. It's another thing I like is where Luffy is not top dog, even if he wins in the end.
Yeah, and one thing that I don't know, I can't decide whether this is something that annoys me or whether I like it or not, is that when he sees that there's a threat and it's like a really kind of weird ass type of threat, he says, "Oh my god, that's so cool," even though the thing is about to kill him.
Yeah. Luffy enjoys seeing interesting things.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Doctor from Doctor Who, to be honest. Sometimes, like, when he's the one with the werewolf, for example, the Doctor is like, "Oh my god, it's a freaking werewolf, how cool," as opposed to, "Oh yes, I need to get out of here, this is going to kill me."
Yeah, well, I mean, the Doctor usually does a bit of both, where even though he'll do that, he will run, whereas Luffy would probably want to see it more up close and maybe just try to punch it in the nose. But yeah, it's just part of Luffy's character. He is a very explorative human being, and he likes the adventure. So something being amazing to him, even if it's very dangerous, is not like a negative to his, I guess, story.
Yeah. So they go after, they're basically told by the Marines to basically, you're pirate, so we should arrest you, but because like you've kind of got rid of our leader, who is a complete and utter arsehole, we'll kind of let you go. So they go to get a boat. They pass an army on the way out. She's looking at a map to what looks like Buggy, and then they sail off to the sunset. Which brings us on to episode 4, which is called the passing of the hat. So this is Luffy's backstory.
This is the second part of Luffy's backstory, if I'm being cringe about it. Well, so we see part 1 way later.
So I'm not going to go through every single scene because that's going to take forever. What are your thoughts on this backstory?
Luffy's backstory is pretty cool. The one thing I don't like is in the anime, and this is more of a censorship thing that they couldn't show it, is that Luffy's scar under his eye is that he gave it himself, which we do see in the Netflix live action adaptation because they could get away with it a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But it just so that it's that in the anime, well, in the original source material, that is how it works. Luffy just stabbed himself to give himself a scar because he, as a kid, thinks that pirates have scars, and whereas Shanks is like, the scar's not interesting. It's how you got them, and what did you learn from it? How did you grow? Blah blah blah. But no, Luffy's backstory. It's Well, I say Luffy's backstory. It's more like the backstory of how he got his straw hat rather than like Luffy's backstory.
I just watched a little part of it. Basically, the wind carries it off or something, and then it's like, oh my god, I can't go without my hat, and so it's like, what the hell? It's like, what?
Yeah, like what's so important about the hat? And then Luffy's like, well, it all happened.
Yeah,
long time ago. But as far as how his backstory plays out, I think it's very light-hearted while also showing like the world as being dangerous. We have Luffy's relationship with Shanks about Shanks being the legendary pirate that Luffy looks up to, and obviously he wants to join his crew, but Shanks is saying that he's too young, he's not experienced enough.
Yeah. So
and it's a very like wholesome relationship they weirdly have, for saying that Shanks is a very like notorious pirate, because obviously we get the mayor being like, the pirates being heroes of blight on the island, and blah blah blah. Everyone's like, silly old mayor.
Yes, another response podcast. Yeah, it's a story about the hat. It's the story about the hat. Sorry. Yeah, one of the messages, and this is one of those nice messages as opposed to the message. Is that it teaches you to pretty much pick your battles in this episode.
Yeah, Shanks, as far as, I mean, it makes even more sense the further we get in it when we see what Shanks is capable of, we'll say. But Shanks not fighting against the mountain bandits is very much just Shanks. It's just like, these people aren't important. Like they're like fighting them. It would be like more of an ego thing of beating them up because we can beat them up. Stuff like that. It wouldn't actually like achieve anything. I mean, he could kill them, but Shanks is more like, I don't really wanna. They're not important. They're not a threat to us. They're more just like annoying to them at this point.
It was something to do with like a spilt drink or something, and it's like, oh yeah, no problem, that's fine. Just let them do it.
Yeah.
And then when they actually threaten them, it's like, yeah, this is when we need to put our foot down.
It's when they threaten Luffy, they just like, I love the fact that just immediately, I can't remember all their guys. All of the characters' names, which I feel really bad about, but the Chungus man on the Red-Haired Pirates crew just like immediately shoots one of them, and then the bandit's like, what the fuck? And he's like, dude, we're pirates, we'll fucking kill you if we want.
I can't remember whether they changed that for the live action. Did they actually use the fish guys for the live action, or was it still the mountain bandits?
It was the mountain bandits.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, we have and then we also have a thing that after that, but before it kicks off, but after the altercation, we get Luffy angrily eating the devil fruit in sort of because he's pissed off and he's just eating the fruit, and then Shanks just like, Luffy, what the fuck, bro? You've eaten the devil fruit. You can't swim, you stupid bastard. And Luffy's like, what the fuck? Yeah, and it's pretty funny. But then when obviously Luffy gets taken by the mountain bandits in the kerfuffle, the mountain bandit gets away with Luffy. And then Shanks is a bit of a, oh shit, we lost Luffy. And then we get the thing where Luffy can't swim, but then the Sea King out of sea eats the bandit, and then Shanks saves Luffy and loses his arm. Now that is a plot hole. Well, sorry, not a plot hole. That is an inconsistency with what we learn about Shanks later. I do not believe for a second that Shanks would have lost his arm to that Sea King. And also, we can kind of almost assume that because we know from like behind the scenes stuff with like Oda and that Shanks wasn't originally meant to lose his arm. His editor was like, that's not it's not enticing enough. Something drastic needs to happen. So he was kind of forced to do it, which is a shame, but it doesn't like ruin the story or anything like that. It's more just a weird thing. Shut up, Uncle Roger.
So I just realised that whatever I do on the screen here comes up on the actual stream, so bugger that.
Shit, Mayo. Well, some Unbridled Mayo guy is awesome. We should subscribe to him instead of this Unbridled Mayo. Wait a minute.
Yeah, what's this Nigel NG guy? Am I supposed to be subscribed to him
Well,
or Unbridled? I'm confused here. Brain explode.
We're having inception of fucking Mayo within a Mayo. Wait, where's the tank start and when does the Mayo end?
Oh, the tank's coming soon. Don't you worry about that. And if anyone watching this is confused what the tank is, essentially it's an AI thing that kind of went slightly amiss. There's supposed to be a jar of mayo, but we'll get to that in maybe a few weeks' time when I got something together. I think there's a couple of things in store I've got. So Horami, he 100% lost his arm to motivate Luffy, even says later he made an investment.
I always assumed. I mean, I guess this is slightly more meta stuff. But so in that scene, I always assumed it was more when Mihawk said like, what would you say? Was it worth it? You know, like losing your arm, blah blah. And then Shanks is more like, oh yeah, it was totally worth saving Luffy, even at the cost, because obviously he sees it as a you know, like a worthwhile thing to do. But I know for a fact that Shanks wasn't meant to lose the arm because Oda has said himself that he didn't plan for that, and it was a recommendation from his editor.
Right.
So it doesn't. It like I know for a fact that it doesn't have any hidden meaning. I mean, if death of the author and all that, if that's how you think it should be interpreted, then go for it. I mean, I think it's way better than just an inconsistency. Like that would be awesome if I thought that as well. I just know that's not what it is.
Right. But yeah, backstory told, and the
Here's a nice backstory, and then we end. Sorry, just as I think we just end with Luffy making the decision. I don't want to join your crew anymore, Shanks. I want to be my own pirate captain. And then Shanks is just like, yeah, that a boy. That's my that's my Luffy. Here's the straw hat. Go for it, champ. And that's basically where we catch up.
Yeah.
And then I think it's in this episode. That's when we see the thing with Nami, isn't it? Where she tricks the other pirate crew, is that this episode?
Yeah. So next,
really funny.
Yeah, next episode 5. Luffy inadvertently saves Nami from her pursuers. Nami told to blast Luffy with a buggy ball, and then presents Luffy to Buggy. So I can't remember this. So Nami presents Luffy.
You're right. Well, you're right. You're
Buggy.
right. Yup. Yes. Whenever we hear about the editor making a decision for Oda, it is always worse than what the decision Oda wanted to make.
Yeah.
Which is why they no longer make Oda. They no longer tell Oda what to do, because they know that Oda is the champ.
Yeah, which is great. More people should be doing what the original guy wants to do, because he's got the vision.
Yeah, so the next one is so Luffy and Zoro are separated because Luffy went to grab a bird, not realizing it was the size of a house, and gets kind of dragged away. Zoro comes across the pirate crew and gets like sort of waylaid, so he ends up being late to the party when he beats them up and gets them to row the boat for him, which is a funny scene.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, Luffy comes across Nami. Nami pretends that Luffy is her captain. And Luffy fights the guys, but with no issues. And then Luffy and Nami talk. Nami finds that Luffy's a pirate and goes, "Well, I don't like you anymore because you're a pirate." But then he's like, "But you don't seem like an evil guy, so we can work together, and I will use you to trick Buggy." And then, like I said, it goes a bit south for Nami because she was sort of hoping that I don't know. To be fair, I think it's a bit of a dumb moment. I don't know what the fuck she thought was going to happen with Luffy. In fact, I think what she was hoping is that she could sneak away rather than being forced to like essentially kill Luffy herself. I think she was hoping. And because Luffy was a pirate, she didn't really care if he lived and died. She just didn't want to be the one to do it herself, because she doesn't want to be a murderer, which is fair.
Right.
I mean, I don't mean fair as in moral. I mean fair as in her character. It makes sense.
Right. So again, we're going to talk about the various things in a generalized way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we can't.
We'll be here forever.
We can't buy scope. Look, it's took like 3 or 4 weeks to just watch the episodes as they are. I don't want to go through every scene.
I mean, like I said, I was trying to do the cliff notes of the important stuff in the episode there. That was what. So, yeah. But yeah, so that's how that like kind of ends. Zoro appears. Buggy is like obviously the leader of the the buggy pirates, and they fear him. But we see a bit more of a jovial side to him when he says that Nami's going to join the crew. They have a party, and you're like, oh, he has a personality. He's not just bad guy. He is bad guy, but Buggy has a personality, which is nice to see. That Oda gives pretty much every fucker in the universe a personality. There are very few generic characters. I mean, like there's background pirate crews, and then there's background marine name. You know what I mean? But then anyone that's like named has like you can guarantee if you ask Oda, he'd be like, oh yeah, this is their favorite type of soup, and you're like, how does he know this fucking madman? But Buggy's a very interesting guy. And then we have a little fight with when Luffy's trapped in the cage. Zoro and Buggy have a 2-second fight where Zoro cuts him in pieces, and then we find out that Buggy is eating the devil fruit, and he is eating the chop fruit. It's a very cool power.
This, I believe, is where the live action kind of deviates from the anime, because then they capture Buggy in live action, and they kind of just have him around for a bit. Am I right, or am I forgetting something about that?
No, the fishmen capture Buggy in the live action one. Happens after the fact, where they just take his head and they have it in a bag.
Okay, I'll probably just need to watch it again.
Yeah, but although I like the episode, I think Buggy is way better in the anime. Like, he just outright, I think Buggy is has way more going on in the original source.
Yeah, and have more of a full-on battle and everything in.
Yeah, and he uses this devil fruit like even though he is outclassed by Luffy, Buggy's not a pushover, and he definitely tries to win. He doesn't let Luffy win like by any means at all. You know, I'm trying to think because what's one of the things that I don't like in the live action? I genuinely don't like. You remember when Luffy punches Buggy and his head just like knocks off and he's fine? I'm just like, that's not how that devil fruit works. You know what I mean? Like Buggy, weirdly enough, he's like the opposite of Luffy, where like sharp attacks don't work on him, but blunt force trauma does, whereas Luffy's the other way around, which is quite funny.
Right. Because
if you punch a Buggy in the nose, you'll break it and it will be a pain. Whereas if you try to cut it off, it will just like separate and fly off, and it's like, yeah, that's how his fruit works. But that's not anything to do with the anime anyway. That's personal. That's just a thing. But yeah, we just see essentially Zoro can't. His skill sets don't really work against Buggy. So then but that's when we get Zoro fighting the Unicycle Man and all that. But obviously in the meantime we have before all that, when the gang get away, Luffy's in the cage, and then they come across the Dargo, and we had that little side story, which is really sweet and sad, but has a kind of an uplifting message.
Right. So when Zoro is trying to fight Luffy, not Luffy, Buggy, realizes that his swords aren't really doing anything. He gets the big cannon, points it at them.
Yeah, and then everyone freaks out because they're like, fuck, this is our Uber cannon, and then and then kaboom. Yeah. And it's funny.
That's where that episode
I mean,
ends.
like, that it's like insane how none of them die, but like it's still funny. But again, you've kind of got to accept in One Piece early on that people are way more durable. Unless somebody like is like absolutely murked on screen, they're not dead. It is, I guess, it's if it annoys you, it annoys you. There's a few people in One Piece that definitely should have died that don't. But that's we get that later.
Yeah, and there is something I need to kind of mention about that later on when we get to it.
Yeah, like I said, there's stuff later, yeah.
So yeah, that ends that episode. So the next one is a dog swallows the key to Luffy's cage. Mayor Budor puts wounded Zoro to sleep and shares the story of Kuchiku the dog. Is that the one that is just like standing out the side of the store? I can't remember.
Yeah. Is it Chow Chow or Choo Choo? I can't remember. But he that dog's the one that's guarding the pet store, and you get the sad story where it was his owner that owned it, and we know that Buggy's crew killed his owner.
Yeah.
And but the dog stays there, and then we get the scene of we see that I can't remember the guy's name, but I know the lion's called Richie. But then obviously they destroy the shop, and it's like awful, and it's really sad. And we get the dog gets beaten up, and I'm very glad that Oda didn't kill the dog, but it's just a really sad scene. But then as soon as Luffy breaks out, he absolutely goes to town on them, and it's not even close. It's such a satisfying beatdown. He just like buries them in the concrete.
Yeah, and this is one of the more endearing things about Luffy is that it doesn't matter whether it's a person, whether it's a dog or a whale, spoilers, or anything. Luffy would just fight to the death for anyone if he believes they're good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Luffy's thing is when he realizes the dog's treasure has been destroyed, Luffy is like heartbroken because he knows how he would feel if his like dream of finding the One Piece and being the king of the pirates was destroyed. Then that would be, his worst nightmare. So he can at the very least like empathize with somebody's treasure being taken from them because he knows what it would be like for him if he lost his like goal. And so he very much and as the dog is just like and again Luffy very much when he sees someone that has the same spirit as he seems to think is the right thing, it's when like the dog refusing to back down against this fucking lion is like Luffy's like moment of, all right, this dog's cool, I'm gonna fucking deck this thing in the schnoz.
Yeah.
It's very nice. It's a very like I just said, it's a very cathartic moment of just like Luffy fucking uses his hammer smackdown on them and you're just like, oh, beautiful.
Yeah. I think I missed something because Buggy just said you lost to Zoro, to the guy in the lion. No.
Yeah, that after that the guy goes back to Buggy, and then that's when the Unicycle Man goes to fight Zoro, or is it no?
Can't seem to find anything.
That might be the end of the episode. To be fair, is Luffy beating up Thingy and then him going back to Buggy to tell him, and I think does the episode end with them like planning their like revenge, and the guy with the unicycle is just like, let me take a stab at him.
Right.
And is that where the episode ends?
That is, yeah, it is.
Okay, yeah, and I remember. So at this point, we essentially have it where Nami wants the treasure, as you'd assume, and all that stuff, and Luffy wants to beat up Buggy's crew because of he's now decided he likes the dog, and these guys have pissed him off, and Zoro's following Luffy.
Oh, that's it. So Buggy goes to hit Luffy with one of his hands, and he just grabs it and doesn't have a hand anymore. That's where the episode ends and starts.
Okay, yeah. So basically, in this fight at the end, we basically have Luffy versus Buggy and Zoro versus the Unicycle Man. That's basically the setup, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then Nami goes off to steal the treasure.
Yep.
And then we have the whole fight scene. I don't know if it's really worth going through it in detail. It's a very cool fight. We get lots of stuff. We see why Buggy is quite feared. We see him using his powers quite effectively. Just Luffy is better. Like when Buggy like separates his bottom half and he spins his legs around and he has like a spinning, turns his like legs with the blades on it to like a kind of a spinning top with like a buzzsaw of death. And it's like, yeah, you can see why that's to a normal guy that'd be terrifying and stuff like that. But obviously, Luffy is more than the match. Zoro, obviously, I guess he definitely wins, but he struggles against that guy. But again, Zoro is injured at this point because he was stabbed by Buggy earlier, stuff like that. So Zoro's at a handicap. But he wins still. It's just a pretty what would you? I'd say bog standard, but not in like a bad way. I just mean it's just a very standard fight that's very fun to watch, but there's nothing really to
yeah, and this is the thing when we get into some of these arcs, especially the next one that's going to come up with us, Usopp, is that a lot of the episodes isn't. I don't want to say this disparagingly, but they don't even feel like whole episodes. They're just like one tiny part of a big battle, and that's it. And it's like just constantly, okay, stop that part of the battles the next episode. Like, come on, are we like actually going to progress here until finally the battle's finished?
But what One Piece does, and I guess this is just with it being an adaptation of like a comic thing, is that they bounce around. So so we have it as a couple of episodes fight because we're not watching one fight. We watch both of them happen kind of at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it just takes longer, and this is why a lot of people later on say that the fights drag in One Piece, which I don't actually agree with. However, when there's like 20 battles going on all at once and they get split between a 20-minute episode, I can kind of see why you might be like, come on. But it's like, no, it's not going slow though. It's just showing you all of them because they're kind of happening in real time. But obviously we're not there yet. That's just more like my perspective on that. But yeah, I think with the fight. It's just a simple fight, and it's just irregular. If you like anime action, I think you'll have some fun. I did, and the fight ends with when Buggy kind of sees that Nami is stealing his treasure, goes after him, but he's split apart, so Luffy just kicks him in the nuts, which is an absolutely hilarious scene. And then Nami has grabbed all of his torso when Buggy does his I can't remember what he calls it. It's like his chop jamboree or whatever the fuck he calls it, or where he separates into lots of pieces. But then Nami grabs like all of his pieces that aren't threatening, which is basically the bits of his body. So Buggy is left with his head, hands, and feet, and that's kind of it. So he's a tiny man, and then Luffy just like sends him to the moon, and it's just really fun. And it's just like it's just cartoony, very entertaining. 10 out of 10. Love it. It's silly. And then we get the fact that they get dragged out of town because Luffy just doesn't give a shit and just says like, I knocked out the mayor, because he knocked him out to save him, didn't he, earlier? Because when the mayor was going to fight Buggy, and Luffy's like, he's going to die. I'll stop him by punching him in the back of the head. And it's like, oh yes, our hero, ladies and gentlemen. It's like, yeah, tell you what Luffy would do. But then they leave. Luffy leaves a lot of the treasure. Nami's pissed off, but we basically have this thing where they've made a truce where we have Luffy and Zoro as the pirate crew, and Nami is like with them in like a temporary alliance at this point.
Right.
Is there really much else to say in like plot to talk about?
Just that part of the battle between
cheers, Harvey.
Yeah, between Luffy and Buggy is that Buggy like just claws the straw hats.
Oh yes, I apologize. Yeah, we do get a bit of lore where we find out that Buggy and Shanks know each other.
Yeah.
And then we see a bit of Buggy's backstory, don't we, about how he had the chop fruit.
Yeah.
And how, again, that was kind of a joke as well, where he did it by accident, and it's really funny. and then he blames Shanks for it, whereas in reality, it's his own poor choices.
Yeah. So yeah, episode 8 is essentially learning about Shanks and Buggy. That they kind of made a deal or something.
Yeah, they were on a pirate crew together. I think they say that they were apprentices together, don't they? Is what they say on the same pirate ship.
Yeah. And
then, like I said, Buggy blames Shanks for getting him to eat the devil fruit and stopping him from being able to like explore the bottom of the ocean. But it's like that's what we see it, and it's not true. It's just Buggy tries to screw the crew over a little bit, and it goes wrong by just Shanks sort of just being a good-natured guy.
Yeah, just basically just goes to talk to him when he's basically trying to hide the fruit, and then puts it in his mouth and accidentally just swallows it.
Yeah, and then obviously he has it then because that's how it works, and it's just very amusing. And then Buggy's like, "And I swore revenge," and you're watching it, you're like, "Buggy, my man, that was your own fault." It's just, and yeah, it's Buggy obviously just doesn't take responsibility because he's just Buggy's a bit of a clown, but
yeah. And essentially, it cuts back to the fight, and it's the most of the episode. It's just a fight. I don't really know much else to say about it.
No, I really enjoy it. It's a fun battle, but it's just the how like a comic fight is. It is just meant to be. It's just an entertaining battle. But as far as like conversation, I don't know if there's that really much to talk about. Everything functions as well as it should do. Luffy uses his rubber powers. But he uses chop powers. They're both fighting to the best of their ability. There's nothing feels like anything's a cop out. It's just a well executed fight, but there's nothing really there that's like either amazing or bad. It's just good.
Yeah, and so essentially the battle ensues. Yeah, battle ensues, but they kind of wreck the place, and the townspeople are kind of angry of the destruction and everything. Like, by the way, thanks for saving us, but again,
I'm going to say in this instance, it's not that. They come out, see the mayor's unconscious, and they go, "Oh my god, who attacked our mayor?" And instead of explaining it, Luffy just says that I did. And then they go, "What?" And then they chase him out, and the dog blocks them because the dogs help them. And then when the mayor wakes up, he runs after them and thanks them. And the townspeople are like, "Wait, what's happening?" And they're just confused as fuck but then, like I said, Luffy didn't really want to be a hero or anything like that, and he leaves them with most of the treasure anyway. And Nami is really pissed off.
Right.
That's how the episode ends.
Right. So that's the end of that arc, I guess.
Yes, that's Orange Town.
Yeah. So the next one is what you describe as, and I kind of feel the same way after seeing more of One Piece after this, one of the weaker arcs where we meet Usopp.
Syrup Village is perfectly fine. It's just it's very average, like for everything.
Would you say it's like the worst of the best?
Yeah, I don't think there's like a single bad like. I'm gonna say canon because there's some filler, but I mean, obviously, I know you've not manga and all that stuff, blah blah blah. But like, as far as the canon islands, which are the ones that are based off the source material, I don't think there's a single bad arc.
Right.
I don't think this is the worst though. Actually, thinking back on it, I think Whiskey Peak is the worst because there's something that happens in that one that's fucking cringe.
Whiskey Peak, is that the one where Zoro basically they basically eat and eat, think they're good guys, and then they have the battle between the two of them?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
We'll wait till later, but that's basically when Luffy and Zoro fight.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I didn't want. That's why I didn't just mention their names because I didn't want to do that. But it's fine.
It doesn't matter. Do you know what's funny about that as well? Is that again that was an edited decision, and Oda did his best to kind of fucking ignore the shit out of that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna talk about this arc as a whole because again it's one of those where there's a lot of different fights that are happening at the same time as you just mentioned.
I think all of these you should talk about each like island or arc as like one whole storyline. Talking about them episodically is kind of not going to really get you anywhere because first of all you'll take it forever, and secondly it is just one storyline that's just split into episodes.
Yeah, so fine. Why do you feel that this arc now was one of the weakest?
I basically just think there's not as much to sink your teeth into. I think there's a lot of stuff with the fight that's just what would you call it? I guess like I think it's very artificial how they drag the fight out, like how like when Zoro is stuck down the oil slip. That kind of just feels like it's there to split Zoro up from the group rather than because it's something that like has happened through character actions and stuff like that. You can remember when he's like trapped and he eventually just gets there by stabbing his swords to the thing, and you're like, okay,
right,
whatever.
yeah.
I feel that's the kind of thing. There's a lot of the fight with Kuro where the same thing just happens for a while until Luffy just decides to win, where he does his what the fuck does he call it? His out of the back attack. I find Koro a very boring bad guy as well. For saying it's a longer one, like his thing, he's probably more interesting than Alvida, but Alvida takes up one episode, whereas Koro takes up this entire arc.
Right.
He's a pirate that wants to, is got himself in a rich person's will by being a good man, but then he plans on killing her and getting the money for himself, and you're like, yeah, okay, that's fine. And then, but as far as him as he's probably one of the least interesting bad guys as well. He doesn't really have much of personality, and this happens a couple of times in the East Blue Saga, which is why I say it's probably the weakest one. Where, again, jumping the gun, but I find Krieg is a bit like that. He is just bad guy, and you're like, that's okay.
Right.
It's just like fine.
They didn't have the bigger battle in the live action, did they? It was essentially just Koro in the house with with his team, which again,
I think it's an improvement. I genuinely think that the live action did it better.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
It cuts out a lot of superficial stuff that you don't need.
Okay. Yeah, again, like with that battle in where they're trying to that pass where they're trying to make sure they don't get past. I think he was just like, okay, you defeated the Bug Standard people, then it's just mini boss after mini boss after mini boss, and then you get to Korra, and that goes on for another 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah, they're not very interesting. I like Django. The Django guy's pretty fun, but it's like the two is it the Meowstick brothers or whatever the hell they're called? That Zoro fights. Like, I like that fight as a fight. It's pretty fun.
It just didn't need to happen.
Well, I guess it's not that it doesn't need to happen, but it's more the fact that I think every bad guy except for Django, I really really like Django. I find him very entertaining. But all the others are such generic baddies. They are badmans, and that's it.
Yeah.
The rest of them are pirates. Koro is I want to steal the inheritance, and I'm just like, yeah, it tracks. It definitely makes sense. I don't dislike the arc. I just find it probably one of the least interesting ones in One Piece. I like Usopp's stuff. Usopp being the liar for the village, and him doing it every day because he's trying to bring excitement to the world. And obviously, what would you say? Like, he's kind of lying to himself as well to make life more interesting than it is because he wants his dad to come back one day and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And how he's lying to what's her name? The girl.
I don't know.
Kaya. Is it Kaya?
Yes.
His like good-natured lies to her, and even though it annoys me, but it more because I know it in context, it totally makes sense. So it's not a bad thing. But when she thinks that he's lying about Koro because of what he says and all that stuff, it's like, yeah, it all tracks. I think it's a perfectly good story. I just don't find it that engaging compared to a lot of the other ones. I think a lot of it is subjective stuff. But if you want to find like, are there any objective flaws with it? I'm like, probably not. I think it all tracks.
Right.
I really like Usopp's like thing of Usopp has a very, 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 very long character arc. It pisses me the fuck off when people say he's a useless character or blah blah, because he's definitely not. But Usopp is a coward. He is very much an everyman that has no special like powers. His talent is that he's a good shot with his slingshot. But like the point is, and the reason that the guys end up wanting to like respect him and want him to join them is because he stands up for what he wants, and to him it's like, yeah, I want to protect this island even if it costs him my life, and he's terrified, but he does it anyway, and that's what endears Luffy and Zoro to him.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't think it's more of a character arc. I think it's just very good at character establishment.
Do you think they spent too much time on someone who wasn't a fan favorite?
Who?
Usopp.
I mean, Usopp's my favorite, like Straw Hat, so I wouldn't.
Really?
I don't. Yes.
Okay. Fine.
Usopp has one of the best character arcs in like storytelling, as far as I can tell from like how much growth he goes through.
Okay. I like the fact at the end of this arc, the village people, not the YMCA, the village people in the story, they're like, oh yeah, he's not coming around lying anymore. It's like he's not shouting pirates of invading or anything like that. And it's like, I kind of miss that guy.
No, I liked it at the end where the guy with the broom we see at the start of the arc is at the door waiting for Usopp. He just like, he should be here by now. It's just like, yeah, I liked that. It showed like I said, that they were kind of in on it, and they were like they all liked Usopp, even if they found him annoying. Like, it was a nice little bit of storyline. I like the Usopp pirates. Usopp bigging him up as more than he is. And I just think it's kind of funny. I like the introduction of Usopp to Luffy, where Luffy steals the badass line from Shanks, and then Usopp is like, "Yo, fuck," and then realizes that oh shit, these are the real deal, and then Luffy's like, I stole that line, it was funny. And then also when they recognize that Yasop and stuff, there's a lot of stuff that ties them together that very much adds more and more to why Usopp is very much someone that you can see why Luffy wants to join the crew. It's a very good, I think, for like the stuff with Usopp is the stuff that I think is very strong in that arc.
Yeah. So that leads them to getting the Going Merry.
Yeah, Kaya's. It's actually it's it's Mary, isn't it? That's its name. Not the butler. Sorry, because that's is he a butler as well? You know what I mean, though. Anyway, the guy with the ram's head, like toupee thing. It's his ship that he uses for like doing shopping, I think is what they say, but essentially they give it to the Straw Hats for like as a thank you, and obviously Luffy is absolutely ecstatic that he has a pirate ship, even if it's very much not designed for being a pirate ship. But like Luffy's not, again, Luffy doesn't see stuff that way. In Luffy's eyes, he has just got a ship, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then obviously it makes sense like how they get attached, because obviously Usopp has a major attachment to the ship because it's Kaya's, which is very important to stuff that you'll get to later and stuff like that. One Piece is a very character-driven story, and I think it's nice how you can see it in retrospect, how it builds off each other. But I think my main issue with Syrup Village, and it's not even an issue, it's more just me saying, like we were just saying about had it being like a bog standard arc. There's not that much to talk about. It's just fine.
Right. Nothing too bad about it. It's just like,
There's
okay,
nothing, there's nothing really bad at all. It's literally just like fine. Like the bad guys are fine. There's nothing wrong with them. They totally make sense in how they act and what they do. Even like when Koro threatens to kill his men, it's like he doesn't even do the cringe thing of just killing them for the sake of it. At that point, he is threatening them to get them moving and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, and
right,
we also know at this point that he doesn't care about his men because his plan is to fucking leave them anyway. So it makes it's actually one of the few times I think him like threatening to kill his men makes sense because it's entirely just do as I say or I'll fucking kill you. And then later on it's like, oh, well, I probably would have killed them anyway because there's no loose ends. And you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, that actually tracks for once rather than I am Batman who will kill my own friends because of reasons.
right. So after this arc is done, we get Zoro's backstory with wanting to be the best swordsman. Now, this is something where there's a very, very minute change in the live action to the anime, where in the live action, the girl that Zoro is basically fighting against to prove that is the best, she's the one who says, oh yeah, by the way, I'm defeating you now, but you're going to grow up and you're going to be stronger, better in every way because, like, you're a guy, you're just going to be better. In the anime, it's the teacher that tells him that, not the girl. He only realizes it after the girl dies. I kind of prefer the live action version of that scene.
Sorry, hang on. I don't think that was true what you said.
I'm sure.
So what happens in the live action one? Sorry.
In the live action one, it's the girl who eventually dies. She's the one who is basically beating Zoro all the time. And then she says, by the way, don't feel so bad or something or other. You're going to grow up and you're going to be bigger and stronger than me. You're not always going to be the lesser person.
That's in the anime as well.
It is in the animated, but it's the teacher that tells Zoro that, not the girl.
No. The teacher tells the girl that she tells Zoro that. That's why she's upset, because he tells her he's saying like I need to find someone to replace me to rule the dojo, and then she says I'll be able to do it, and he says you're a fine pupil, but as a girl you will never be blah 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 blah. And then she's upset, and she runs off, and then Zoro challenges her. They have a fight in the night. She wins, and then she goes, "You're lucky, Zoro. You're a man. You'll get stronger. I'm a woman," and then Zoro just goes like, "Don't trivialize this. You're my goal."
Okay, might remember that wrong then. That's fine. But yeah, it's
and that's when they make their promise, by the way, in the night scene to be the world's like greatest swordsman together, and then the next day you find out that
Yeah. Again, it's one of those positive. Well, not positive, I guess, but it's one of those realistic world messages instead of like, oh, woman boss and strong female character and all of that. This is like real. Like, I'm not trying to stick up for all men here, but it's a case of like in fighting or whatever, the man is going to grow up to be bigger and stronger. It's just a fact of life. It's not like man bad.
It's funny though how the more we learn about the One Piece world, the more that it totally would make sense so that she totally could compete with men because of the magic system in One Piece. But
Yeah.
But oh yeah, here's the actual like a thing, because a lot of people take it to interpretation, which I guess it is. Did she fall down the stairs and die, or did she hang herself? No, unironically.
I don't actually know.
Yeah, there is a lot of like debate online about which it is. Did she kill herself or did she actually fall down the stairs? Because I think it's one of those things. I don't know if it is. I was told this in Japan, but like,
I feel like she would have fallen down the stairs.
I just think it's funny that people talk, because I kind of just took it as face value, but I think it's funny when I see the internet Discord. I'm just like, oh, that's pretty dark.
No,
Although I feel like it's kind of funny though, in a way though. I don't know how I feel about it though. I think Zoro probably has one of the weakest backstories for stuff like that. I know it happens in real life, and it's not anything really, what do you say, bad. But I find it such a kind of like a end of a storyline where you're just like, yeah, she just tripped down the stairs and died. I'm like, oh, no, kind of sucks.
Right. Yeah, I feel that she would have fallen down the stairs. I don't think it would be within as much as we only saw her for like an episode. It would be within the character to hang herself because you kind of saw the respect come from her with Zoro and that she kind of likes him.
Yeah, I think a lot of people argue it because of it's just her dad telling her that she's
Yeah.
kind of not worthless because he very much says that she's a great swordsman. He's just based in that when you grow up, he won't be.
Yeah, I feel that's another one of those things that it kind of needed to happen for the plot to happen, you know.
I guess, but I mean, she could have died in like any way, so it didn't have to be that. I'm not even saying it's a bad thing. I just remember like when I first heard it, I was just like, oh okay, that I guess that happened. Just like, yeah,
okay, shock value.
I was like, it's just like, oh shit, that sucks.
Shock value obtained. That's okay. Fine. Now we can have Zoro go on his quest.
But yeah, like there's nothing wrong with it. I just remember being like, oh, okay. Especially when like most of the characters in One Piece have such like an intricately laid out backstory. Zoro has like very much one of the most basic ones.
Yeah, like that happened off screen. That was abrupt. Fine.
Yeah, it makes sense though. There's nothing wrong with it. It just took me back.
He's like, yep, just like, okay, fine, moving on. So yeah, after that we get the whole arc of Sanji.
Baratier.
Yeah, starting off with the couple having like their meal and the guys being like really rude. Sanji is like serving him anyway. Oh no, he no, I got that wrong.
Well, you've just skipped over like the first leg of the journey with them fucking around with the new ship.
Yeah.
Usopp established himself as in a few little things. Usopp established himself as like the sniper, which we already knew, but it's more like showing that he's good with like everything. Like because he hits them up with the cannon, stuff like that. And then Usopp makes the flag for the Straw Hats, and it's it's pretty neat after like Luffy's shit once.
Yeah.
It's just really funny. And then we see oh fuck, I can't remember his name, but the guy with the knuckle dusters, he sort of starts showing off, and then they have a whole little back and forth. They fire a cannon, Luffy blocks it, but then the cannonball gets knocked to the Baratier, and that's where that's how the kind of the plot kicks off with the Baratier.
Yeah, they basically destroy the island, and they're like, "Oh my god, you hurt my friend." Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. With just accidents.
This is another thing as well that I will say that that One Piece is really good at. I'm not saying like there are coincidences in One Piece, but don't get me wrong. But pretty much everything that happens is because the Straw Hats did something. There's very little.
Yeah.
The plot is thrown onto them. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like. How do we say it? So, like at the start, obviously Luffy going on his adventure is what starts out the whole thing with Alvida, so that's fine.
Yeah.
And then it's Luffy going to find Zoro is how they get there, and then the reason that Zoro's in jail is because he stood up to the Kid Marine, so that's why he's there, and then that's their choices. And then in Orange Town, Luffy deciding he wants to tag along, he wants Nami to join him is why he goes along with her plan, and so it's like they decide to do a lot of stuff, and then when they get to a Syrup village, it's because of Usopp's actions of him wanting to defend the town is why the guys get involved, so they put themselves in the fight. So they aren't just like forced to fight, they could have left if they want. And then in this case it's Luffy, how Luffy decides to defend the ship is what causes them to kind of get involved with the Baratier. And I know it's kind of like a small thing, but the amount of I don't want to say like lesser stories, but the amount of like more simple storylines where it would just be, oh, they're here now. Oh, the pirates just suddenly attack and they're here for no reason. You're like, oh, okay. But the reason they're stuck here is because of what Luffy did and what he chooses to do. Because if they wanted, after they broke the ship, they could have gone, oh, fuck, and sailed off. But it's because Luffy like tries to like make amends is why they're kind of there, and then they're stuck there because he's the cabin boy and all that stuff.
Right.
So it's not just the world. It's not just the world is just making them have plot. They are very much characters in the same world as everyone else. So they are actively making decisions that get themselves in and out of trouble, rather than it doesn't basically, even though it very much is, it doesn't feel like they are in a plot. It feels like they are part of it, if that makes sense.
Right. Now I like Sanji, but one huge flaw: the simping.
Mhm.
Um,
I don't have anything to say.
yeah, no, it's fine. It's like, yeah, okay,
I,
we
I,
both agree on
I,
that point. Moving on.
I really like Sanji. I think he's a fantastic character. He is also my least favorite Straw Hat to follow most of the time.
Yeah,
I tell you what, that's changed now because of stuff that's happened to where I've got to recently. But as far as we'll talk to in the chronological order of things happening. Yeah, Sanji's fine. It doesn't get in the way at this point. It's more just it's just a very over the top.
yeah.
I guess it's one of those things that either you find it funny or you find it annoying. I'm in this category where I kind of find it both. Whereas like sometimes it goes too far and it annoys me. Other times I find it mildly amusing. It just depends on the scene.
Yeah, I just like, okay, from first meeting, Nami, I get the whole simping part of it, but when it's like every single episode, she's already part of the crew. And like in real life as well, even when you have a crush on someone, that kind of fades where you can actually act normal with them. I just don't feel that every single time there's any interaction between the two of them, it's like
It's
hearts for eyes type of thing.
well with Sanji. I don't know if it makes it better or worse. I don't think it. I think it's just one of those. It is what it is. It's like whenever he meets like a woman, just
Yeah,
full stop.
like
It's just
literally anyone.
it's just who he is, and like I said, it's just one of those. Yeah, if you find it annoying, endearing, funny, cringe, I just think it's personal preference. You might if somebody said they find it hilarious, I would find that an equally valid response to somebody saying it's cringe as fuck, basically.
Right. That said, I like his backstory.
Oh, his backstory is insanely interesting. You get a lot of the stuff about why he's very much what would you call it? Wasting food is a big no-no for him. And then when you find out obviously that he's starved on an island for what was it, like 2 months nearly or something like that, like 40 some days, whatever, where they barely able to eat. It's longer than that. Basically, they have a shit ton of time where they're stuck on a rock where they can't eat. And
Yeah.
then that fuels his very much his don't waste food because he gets very angry about that. We also get a lot of stuff about why he respects Zeph as much as he does, even though they argue. You can see how much he loves him. It's very well done.
Oh yeah.
And Sanji as a cook is cool, and we see his respect. When he cooks. Oh shit! What's the Geen? When he cooks Geen food, even after Geen was like a bit of a tosser. But it's like, yeah, but Sanji's just like, yeah, he's a starving man. I've been through that. I've been through that and worse. So I'm not going to let someone starve. It's like, I'm not going to mollycoddle him, but I'll cook him a meal because he knows how terrible starving is.
Yep. Don't
And
care
it's
if
just
you.
again,
Don't care if my
yeah,
worst enemy. If you're starving, then I'm gonna fucking feed you.
yeah.
Um.
And obviously Zeph feels the same way, and that makes sense because they share a backstory.
Yeah.
That's a change, though, isn't it? Though, where we see from the backstory where Zeph just lost his leg because he lost it, whereas obviously in the original material and then the Netflix is the same thing where he ate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, that's a censorship thing where they were just told that they weren't allowed to do that because it was too dark because of it being on daytime telly. So that's more of a out of their hands thing, but it still doesn't make the show any less there's nothing wrong in the anime with how it happens. It's still totally fine. But then Sanji's reaction of him going "You're a lag" doesn't really make much sense.
So.
But it makes sense in context when you realize that in the original one he reacted like that because he saw that he'd eaten it.
Mihawk, is that the big sword guy?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't realize. Didn't remember that this actually happened during this arc. I thought there was a different one. But yeah, one of my favorite scenes. But simultaneously,
Him entering is incredible when he just cuts the chip into three is great.
yeah, and the whole you don't spot a fly or something with a cannon. I can't remember what the line was.
Yeah. But basically, he's just like, yeah. Well, he's at that point he sees Zoro as like somebody that's not worth his time. But then by the end, he realizes, hey, this guy is worthy of respect. And then he decides, even though Zoro absolutely gets dominated, like Zoro doesn't have a chance in hell of beating Mihawk at this point in the story. Mihawk sees how, determined and honorable Zoro is with his swordcraft, and then goes, wait, this guy is definitely worth letting live, and I'll be interested to see his story. So he cuts him down, but it's more like a kind of a mark of respect of, this is a sword fight. You knew what was going to happen, and again, Zoro embraces it, but I'm not going to kill you. But then we also get some stuff as well. How even though it's not in this arc, we'll get to it later. But I like how Zoro's injuries carry over to the next arc, and the fact that he only has one sword because two of them break is important as well. Again, Oda's a madman. He doesn't fucking forget anything.
Yeah, and this starts off what is kind of I don't know whether it's become a meme or not, but it's like Zoro's always injured for the rest of this story. To the end of the East Blue, I believe.
He isn't. Well, it's till the end of Arlong Park, isn't it?
Is that where the fish people battle is?
Yes.
Yeah.
But then it makes sense because they happen like there is no, like between Orange Town and Syrup Village, you can assume it's probably been like a day, and then the same at least the same for Syrup Village to Baratier. Do you know what I mean? You can assume there's been a little time of sailing.
Mm-hmm.
But like between Baratier and Arlong Park, it's like there's no time gap. It's like an afternoon, so it's like basically the same. There's no time where Zoro could have healed, so the fact that his injuries are important is very much warranted.
Mm-hmm.
Because like it was like the fact that Zoro is as strong as he is after having his chest cut open like yesterday just shows how much of a Chad he is rather than anything else, doesn't it?
Yeah. Gear Master Sanji. I like the fact that he's basically being pushed all the time to be the best cook. Like, oh yeah, your food's worthless and all that, but really he's actually getting better and better. And the whole thing, like after all the fights and everything go on, that I'm like when they all completely just break down.
It's a really fun scene where you have the whole arc where they're telling you he's a piece of shit, but then at the end. And it's not like as the audience, you know what's going to happen. It's not like a surprise, but it's still nice to see where they all love Sanji really, but they just wanted to like go out there and explore the world because obviously they know that he's he can do greater things kind of stuff, and it's a nice story. And then I know we'll jump ahead and we'll go backwards, but obviously when Sanji like breaks down as well and says thank you Geezer, it's such a nice scene.
Right. And then the guy who Sanji is helping out, starving to death, his friends come along.
Yeah, he comes with Krieg and the remnants of their ship. That's like sort of like they're all starving to death, and they're like, please feed us. And then obviously Sanji and Zeph feed them, and then we know what's going to happen. Because again, this is another one. Although I think this arc is probably better than the last one, just for there's lots more happening that I find more. I guess exciting, and you have stuff with Sanji, like his backstory is way more interesting, and then the stuff with Zeph's cool, and the Baratie is just an interesting setting and stuff like that. But Krieg, I think Krieg kind of sucks as a bad guy, like not in like a way that he's actually bad. It's just he's bad guy because he is bad guy, and you're like, okay, that's fine, I guess.
Am I remembering this wrong? Because Krieg is like the ultimate bad guy. He's never lost. Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
blah.
I think that's kind of dumb because I don't believe it. But,
yeah, and also I feel that this is the first real proper big threat that they come against outside of the Usopp story. It's like one of the first, and it's the first series.
I think it's probably the first time that Luffy was in serious danger.
Yeah, and they're going to go up a lot worse, but in this arc, they're making it out to be the biggest threat in the entire world. Am I right?
I think everyone else is, because they do this thing where they say until Krieg went to the Grand Line, he was like the most he was the East Blues like big bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're meant to assume that he said, because doesn't he have like something ridiculous, like so many, like he has like a really large amount. He's like a really big crew.
Yeah,
and they say, yeah, and it's like it's more of a numbers thing with him because, I mean, it seems to be like really only Krieg, Geen, and then is it that Pearl guy are the only ones that are really noteworthy at all.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Again, nothing wrong with it. But I kind of find it funny when it's like Geen is like 10 times more interesting than Krieg ever was.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not even saying it as like, I guess, like a full-on criticism. It's just more like, yes, this is just where I think that I would say the East Blue is the tutorial to the like getting yourself in, like getting to One Piece, because it's just
the epilogue,
the prologue.
Yeah, that one.
But Krieg. I say like Krieg and Koro. And I guess like Axe Hand Morgan as well. They're bad guys because they're bad guys because they're bad guys. They don't really have much else going on other than they're bad guys.
Yeah.
I'd say like Arlong, Buggy, and then Smoker are like the antagonists that have any interesting thing going on with them. And again, it's more just it is what it is because it is, and it's the setup. You don't want to have too many things to confuse your audience. I think Oda does the build up quite well. However, looking back on it, I'm just like, yeah, Krieg, there's not really much to talk about Krieg as a character. It's just there's a cool his fight with Luffy is exciting and it's very fun to watch, but there's not really much to talk about. It's just again, it's just like, yeah, it works. If you like anime fight scenes, you'll probably get a kick out of it. I know I did, but as far as like plot stuff, it's just a fight scene where it just eventually ends with Luffy winning and hooray. Like the interesting stuff in the fight is more Gin, isn't it? You know, where he accepts his punishment about being gassed when he says he's not going to kill Sanji, and then takes the punishment and yeah, it's just Gin's the interesting character, which is kind of weird, but I'm not complaining because I think Gin's an awesome character to follow in this arc.
Right. At the end of this arc, we see a suspect scene with Nami. In touch with the fish people, is it? Is that what
it's not? It's not at the end. It happens before the fight, where I think it's when Krieg's here, like before he, you know, when he first comes in and they take the food. It's when he first leaves. At that point, Nami decides to steal the Going Merry and takes it off to Park. And then Johnny and Yosuke, because we forgot to mention fucking those two. I mean, I love them, but they're not very important. But they are really lovable characters. I like them as temporary, like friends to the group. But there's not much to say about them. They're just really fun. They're Zoro's old friends, isn't it? It's just they're funny. But anyway, Johnny and Yosuke tell the guys Nami stole the ship. So then, is it Johnny or I think it's Johnny. It doesn't matter. But one of them go with Usopp and Zoro to follow Nami. And then Luffy stays behind with the other brother and to help stop Krieg, and then obviously they recruit Sanji. But yeah, that's it. When Nami has stolen the ship, and they go after her to find out what's wrong, and Luffy just says that no, she's a friend. We need to find out what's wrong with her. But the other guys are like, she's probably just conning us, Luffy, and Luffy's like, nah.
Right. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say about that arc? Because I'm interested to go on to fish people.
No, yeah, I think I've said everything. I really like it. There's it regardless of whether you like it or not, it is a very strong setup for Sanji. You know very much who he is as a character, as a person. It sets him up perfectly well. His backstory is very interesting. You can see why he has his morals. The fights are fun. It's a very simple bad guy storyline. He's a bad guy because he's a bad guy. But there's nothing again particularly wrong with that. The interesting things is probably Gin's character development and Zoro with Mihawk, and Mihawk obviously giving Zoro like the nod of approval of like, you know, I will watch your journey, young swordsman, blah blah blah. Right. And then it ends with Sanji going on his journey with more or less like the blessings of his father figure, and it's just like and it's just solid.
That was one thing I wanted to say about the slash with Zoro is, should that have killed him with that big sword?
I mean, I'm assuming the idea is that, I say assuming, they say it, but Mihawk knows what he's doing. I think the idea is that it was even though it was a big cut, it was probably shallow, and the idea was that he probably avoided his vital organs, but it was still fucked him up.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of anime and live action, it just seemed one of those things that should have killed someone.
I don't know. I just think like in One Piece world, like people are very durable. It's not, and I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean like there's people that fall off like 6-story buildings and they end up like with a broken leg. You know what I mean? Where in reality they should be dead. And so and it's just like, no, you just gotta adjust yourself. I think it's fine. The fact that Zoro is very much fucked up from it for at the very least the next arc. I think it's more, and he has a permanent scar. I think it's fine.
Okay. Fine.
I think it's just a tonal thing. If Zoro had died there, that would have been fine, but then that would have set up as like One Piece as a world where people are going to be dying a lot, and that's just not the world. One Piece is a very cartoonish world where people are very durable.
Because then he would turn into a J.R.R. Martin type of thing.
Which again, that would have been fine as well. It's just not the world that's being set up, and like I said, it's a light-hearted thing, and it's fairly consistent with how people die in One Piece. Again, there's a couple of things that I don't want to go out about, but that's more in the next saga in Alabasta.
Right.
But yeah, so I think that's more. If it annoys you, it annoys you. But I don't think it's inconsistent.
It would not doesn't necessarily annoy me or anything. It's just a strange thing that, especially when that sword is meant to cut down ships, that he strikes with it what seems to be such force that it doesn't just immediately kill him.
I think it's more just where the blade was, wasn't it? It was obviously being quite shallow with it, and it's when you get stuff like that sword definitely wasn't long enough to cut the ship into three. There's something else going on,
Right.
and there is, but I won't spoil it for you.
Okay. Yeah. Then we get the arc, which is probably, at least in my view, the best one of the series.
It's basically the big one for
Yeah.
the East Blue, and yeah, I think this is where what I've been told is where a lot of people were on board with One Piece. Oh, this is more than just a dumb fun like story with just some moments. So Arlong Park, they were like, this is the first like fantastic one, and I think I agree. It's actually not though. When One Piece started to wow me, One Piece started to wow me at Drum Island.
Okay. The one
But
I
like
just finished.
yes, that was when I was first like, okay, and then Alabasta, which is the way you're going to next, is when I was like, no, I'm on board. I've been converted. I'm now religious for One Piece. But no, that's not what it's about. But yeah, Arlong Park is a very strong storyline.
Yeah. I can't remember in the live action, was the mother, did they say whether she was part of the Marines or whether, was it just the fact that she was trying to defend her daughters?
I think they say it in passing. I think it's more of a throwaway line though in the live action, because you don't see that flashback where she's finds them. I think they just say that she was a Marine, but then they don't really use that.
Yeah. So yeah.
But I might be wrong in fairness, but I'm just my brain's going it, but it might be because it's in the original.
Right. So this is the one of the big arcs that everything was leading towards. Nami is basically full on. She's outed as being against the Straw Hats theoretically, but
Of the Arlong Pirates, like officially.
yeah. So but all not is as it seems, because there's something else going on. Essentially, the village is supposed to pay tribute to the fish people, and basically made out a deal where Nami gets like, was it 10 million or something rubies, and then basically everything's set free. That's why she's part of them.
Yeah, 10 million berries, and then she'll like buy the village's freedom, and then but Arlong basically wants to keep her forever because she's a fantastic navigator and like cartographer. Arlong's a bad guy that again I think he's probably the first strong bad guy. Like Buggy's really strong as well, but for different reasons. He's more because he's a well-rounded character that's funny is why I love him. But Arlong is probably the first bad guy that genuinely feels like a well-rounded baddie. Like he's evil, don't get me wrong. Like obviously with how he treats people and makes them more or less slaves and all that stuff. However, you learn that he has a reason to think that it's because of how he knows that people treat fish. Men, blah blah, and there's more going on. And in fact, maybe there's a thing that happens way later in the story where we learn even more about that. You know what I mean? So it just keeps building on itself. But yeah, and then his crew, and then also the fact that Arlong cares about his men is a nice change. You know, when he goes back and Zoro's cut most of them down, and he's like, "What the fuck happened?" And he's actually like kind of upset that what I mean. He's not just like,
oh yeah,
he doesn't do the usual bad guy thing of how could you have let yourself been beaten, blah 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 blah. He's actually like, oh shit, what's happened to my guys, my bros, you know. His bad guys, his henchmen are all. Hachi's got a lot of personality to him. No, I think all three of them have got his major henchman, which is I can't remember. I remember Hachi's name, the octopus man, but the other two.
I just remember the octopus guy.
But the other two that I think they're all still pretty interesting characters, but they are like henchmen. But again, they're still probably better than the other henchmen that we've had because they all feel like characters in their own right. Like they have their different mannerisms,
right?
You know, and how they talk to, and they have their own fights. But yeah, if we go through it in order, obviously we see Nami's thing. We see that the village shuns Nami, although we learn that they're in on it. They know that Nami's doing it for them, and they're just playing along, which is actually a change that the live action did that I fucking hate.
Right.
where the village genuine and the sister isn't in on it. Like, I think they do actually Nochiko like a disservice in the live action by having her angry at Nami, and it just makes it basically makes her come across as an idiot. Whereas in the original one, she knows. It's like, of course you would.
Yeah. And also Usopp, she kind of fakes Usopp that she's just killed him.
Usopp gets caught. This is where we have a thing where Usopp believes that Nami has turned, although that's a weird moment, but I guess you can say it's more Usopp's hysteria at this point because he's still freaked the fuck out, isn't it? That she would even, pretend to stab him. So I guess that's more of a character thing that I don't really have any opinion on. Really, it's more just like I see it happening, even though you're like, Usopp, come on, brother, use your brain. But where basically the fishermen. What is it? They basically assume that Nami's a traitor, which she is, but she doesn't want them to know that. And then they basically, as like a test, they go kill this guy, and then she does, as far as they're concerned. But obviously, she stabs her in hand.
Yeah.
To fake the blood, and it's a really cool scene, and it's actually a really cool thing that you see that because before it's revealed that Usopp isn't dead. I mean, he's not dead, but you know what I mean. Before the official reveal, you see Nami when she talks to people, and she's got like a glove on that one hand, so it's like attention to detail. Thumbs up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was going to say I don't know if you noticed it because it is like one of the things that you wouldn't really notice it unless you're looking for it. But it's it's cool to see that Oda cares about his story.
Right.
But yeah, that's that. Zoro also gets captured, but that's because of Usopp being an idiot, which is funny. Well, actually, I guess Zoro's an idiot as well because he wanted to just jump straight in when he probably shouldn't have. But anyway,
yeah.
But it just adds to the fact that this is the first arc, I think, which is very One Piece, if that makes sense. Because the further we get through One Piece, we see that the group are they're all their own characters doing their own what they think is best. So this is where we have the group proper splitting off and doing what they think they should be doing. So. Or it just happens to Zoro and Usopp get split up.
Yeah, I also like the fact that it actually shows everyone's strengths as opposed to just Luffy saving everyone. Because for the majority of this, Luffy's out of action underwater.
Yeah, I don't know how much you think, but like Wyatt hates that. I think it's fine. I really like it actually.
Yeah.
He says it's just Luffy being taken out the fight. I think that's mechanically is what it's for, but in like as far as the progression of the fight, we're getting ahead of ourselves. In fairness.
Yeah.
But okay, so we'll do the flashback first. So the flashback shows that Nami has an adopted mother and sister, and they have a life together. And obviously they had their ups and downs, but they loved each other. And then she was a Marine that adopted them. All happy days. They were poor, but they got by, and it was all very sweet. And then when Arlong and his crew arrived, they fucked stuff up. And then, like I said, they demanded tribute. And obviously, the mum could only afford the kids and not her, so he killed the mum. And it's just. And then when he found out that Nami was a great cartographer, he basically forced her to join his pirate crew. And then, yeah. But I mean, again, I know I've oversimplified it, but that is basically what happens. But it's told magnificently over 2 episodes.
Yeah.
It's a very intense storyline. Even though you know the mum's dead, it's still absolutely heartbreaking and tense watching it happen.
Oh yeah, you can see it coming up, and then yeah, it's just not great. And then after all the flashbacks and everything's the present day, and the point correct me if I'm wrong. It's the point where the Marines come in and they seize everything.
Again, we see the corruption of the Marines. The Marines nearby know Arlong is here, and they let it slide because their leader, Ratfucker Boy, he's just taking a backhand and he's getting bribed by Arlong, isn't he? And he is under his pocket, so Arlong basically... Nami almost has enough money to pay for the town, and Arlong obviously doesn't want that. And obviously Arlong... This is another thing that's interesting. I genuinely do believe that Arlong wouldn't go back on the deal, but at the same time, he's like, well, I'm going to stop the deal from happening. So he basically gets his Marines in his pockets to steal the... Well, not steal the money, but confiscate it because it's hot money.
It's loophole territory.
That's what I mean.
But this is where Nami is like, oh yeah, okay, I see where this is going now. You're never going to let me go. And this is where it turns for her, I think.
That's when that's when it starts, because it's over an episode but it starts her on that like 20-minute journey for us as the audience, of her like realizing, because for the whole thing she's just telling Luffy and the other guys as they come one by one to leave. It's not their business because she thinks she's got it handled, but then obviously when she finds out that she hasn't, she breaks down. I honestly, I know we were going back, but just before the gang find out about Nami's backstory, I love the scene where Nochigo basically says, "I'm going to tell you guys," and then Luffy just goes, "I don't care," and then leaves because he's just like, it does in like only, and it's just like for Luffy, it doesn't matter what Nami's backstory is. He wants to help her because she's, as far as he's concerned, he's her friend.
Yeah.
So him learning her backstory is not interesting to him, and I don't know. I guess you could, if somebody doesn't like that, I get it, but I think it very much shows Luffy's like character. Luffy doesn't need Luffy doesn't need the motivation.
No.
So, but the other guys are interested, and again, I guess that shows there because they're more, they want to listen. But then obviously when Nami does her breakdown thing where she goes, you don't know what's going on, and Luffy's like, "You're right, I don't." And then she's like, "This has nothing to do with you." You're like, "You're right, it is." Because like Luffy's not stupid. He knows technically this isn't like his problem, but that's not the point. And then the moment, and at the same time, Luffy obviously is going to help Nami, but he's not going to, I guess, put his foot in it while nothing's happening until she asks. But the moment she asks for his help, he totally steps up, and I love that scene. It's everyone's favorite scene in that bit. But when it's the Luffy help me, and then obviously great, and then I love the bit when you see his other three crewmates waiting for the orders, and it's like, oh, they're all in. Even Usopp the coward is there ready to have their back from 10 miles behind them, but still.
with the help me scene is essentially exactly the same in the live action, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really good. But when we have the fight scene, it's really cool. So obviously Luffy. I love I love how you see Luffy when they break into Arlong Park and Luffy goes, "Which one's Arlong?" And then Arlong goes, "Yes," and Luffy just without a second thought just punched him in the nose. There's no I love there's no usual, like, I say anime talk no jutsu and stuff like that, but this is more just a thing in like a lots of stories where the bad guy and the good guy need to have a chat for no reason to the start. It's like, no, Luffy has come here to beat the shit out of Arlong. It's like, so that's what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
There's no like, we must talk to each other and understand. Luffy's like, no, Luffy knows what's going on. Arlong is upset Nami and he wants to help Nami, so he's going to punch Arlong in face. You're like, yep, yeah. Thumbs up. But then obviously the fight starts and we find out that there's a very back and forth fight where the fishmen are very strong, obviously. But the three of them are at the very least even in a lot of it. It's when the stuff happens in the water. So I'll go through it like one by one. So the reason that Luffy gets taken out of the fight is the cow that we've kind of skipped over, but it's not the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
That Sanji and Luffy beat the shit out of on the way there. There's like a sea cow that's like it's a sea king.
Yeah.
But it's like the size of a skyscraper, but they just beat the shit out of it, and it's fun and it's funny. But that thing under Arlong's orders goes to attack Luffy. Luffy plants stuff in the ground and uses the leverage to give basically a one-hit KO to the sea cow, and it works. And he knocks away lots of Arlong's men, apart from the big men, which is totally fine. The downside, however, is that Luffy has got himself stuck, and so Arlong does the sensible thing, knowing that he's eaten the devil fruit, and throws him in the sea to keep him out of commission. Like, Arlong is not stupid.
Right.
And so Luffy is out of the fight, and then I know mechanically we can see you can see it as Oda is like stopping Luffy from being involved because he would be the one to win it. However, it totally tracks as a scene and character.
The only thing I have against the whole Luffy being underwater thing is the fact that everyone seems to be able to go fucking years being underwater and not need to come up for air.
Is that more of an indicative thing about how the story is told? Because obviously it's one of those like translation things, which I don't this is a thing where I don't really disagree with you. However, you're translating it from panels, whereas obviously when you put it into live action and you're cutting away from scenes, I think it comes across as them being underwater for like 20 minutes, whereas this in reality it's probably meant to be over 2 minutes, but when it happens over like 3 episodes, it feels way longer.
Right.
Especially when you consider that all the stuff happening with Sanji, like his fight with that guy underwater, Zoro's fight with the Octopus Man, Usopp doing his runaway thing with that long face man, like all that is happening at the same time, but obviously with each one being minutes long, it kind of feels like it's happening over a long time, but you're like, yeah, but those scenes are actually happening at the same time if you're
right
thinking. But I do agree that there is a bit of like you're like, Jesus Christ, these guys fucking world record for holding breath.
Yeah. Especially the guy just like pumping his chest and everything, while quite clever, by the way, having their head. Someone's actually using their brain. This guy is elasticated, so just get the head above water. He doesn't need to die, so it doesn't matter how long it takes to revive him. He's fine.
Yeah, but then you have it's really good. You have the fight with like again Sanji has to break the rock, but obviously the fishman is as soon as they're in the water, the fishman has the advantage, so that becomes a major headache for Sanji, and that's a whole like group effort to get that sorted. Zoro definitely beats Hachi, but Arlong is a bit much for him, especially when he's already injured from his fight with Mihawk. You know.
Was there a basic switch there, or am I going crazy? Because the octopus guy, didn't Zoro actually kill him? And like main guy is like, oh my god, you just defeated him, and you killed my man. And then later on, he's fine.
No, I don't think so. I think he kills everyone else. You know, when he earlier.
Right.
When when Hachi, the octopus man, thinks that Zoro's a guest and takes him away, but it's when Zoro breaks out. I think he kills the fisherman there.
Okay.
I think that's the scene where there's death. Hachi definitely didn't die. I mean, I know you know that because they cut away, but I don't think they pretend he's dead because he does. I think he does that Tatsumaki thing where he does like an upward spiral thing, and I think he gets cut up, but he's not dead.
Right.
I don't think he pretends he's dead. I guess he might assume he's dead because he gets like the lots of cuts, but he doesn't get like cut in half or anything like that, you know.
Right.
I love as well when you see that. You remember when the moment that Sanji makes it like an above ground fight, that he absolutely dominates that fishman. I love him when he just kicks him in the face and he knocks him into the wall. It's so beautiful. After all that fucking drama we had.
Right.
You're like, it's just so cathartic after the moment that they're not in their element, like Sanji and Zoro dominate them, but in underwater, you're like, yeah, I see why they're terrifying there.
And while everything's going on, one thing that did kind of amuse me is Usopp's thing in all this, when basically the fish guy goes after him, pretends he plays dead.
Usopp starts like that's when Usopp's character development really starts because they love the whole. So have the whole.
Yeah, I like that. Basically, that's when he's not just a guy who just hides in the corner anymore. He's actually like, okay, I need to take part in this.
Well, it's a cool scene. So first of all, Usopp takes it as his job to distract one of the fishmen, and he does that brilliantly. The moment he nearly dies, he pretends to fake his death, but then, as he says, like, oh, guys, I tried to stop them, but I lost him, and blah, blah, blah. But then he realizes, oh, shit. And then he has his, like, epiphany moment of, no, I need to do my part because I'm part of this crew. And then he does. I think it's the start of Usopp's incredible, like, really, his journey. Because because Usopp as a character as well is, everyone else has these grandiose things. So Luffy wants to be the king of the pirates. Zoro wants to be the greatest swordsman. Sanji wants to find this incredible like place on the planet. You know, Nami wants to map the entire world. Usopp just wants to like essentially become a better man. Like that's his arc. Like that's what he wants. He is like a guy. But he is guy man. He is normal person that has no powers. This world is terrifying to him. He is outclassed in every way. But this is the start of his journey of just like, oh, but when he can pull through, it's just for him it's way harder than everyone else, and that's totally fine.
Yeah,
you got to play to your strengths.
I know he keeps saying he wants to be the world's greatest warrior.
He says he wants to be a great warrior of the sea.
Oh yeah, that's it.
He never says greatest. Like I said, it's very much he wants to become a strong, reliable, dependable person. He doesn't. Yeah. His goal is very much not like the others, and that's not a bad thing. It's just. But this is the start of that journey where he does step up and he beats one of the henchmen. It's hard. He nearly dies, but it's like but he in theory, like he shouldn't have won, and he wins through his It's not through his strength; it's through his guile.
Yeah,
you know, he throws the alcohol, he knocks it over, he sets him on fire. Then while he's doing that, he beats the shit out of him with a hammer, and you're like, oh, it's beautiful. And then also the hammer thing plays into One Piece strength of being a comedy.
Yeah. And it's the one point where he thinks to himself, okay, I can't do this anymore. I have to fucking stand up now. I can't walk away from this.
Yeah, but what I like as well is that it's not like a sudden thing where Usopp is suddenly the bravest man alive. He is still a coward.
Oh, yeah.
But the reason Usopp I find such an endearing character is even with these moments even with that holding him back, because again he is very self-preservation in this world. It's like, but when push comes to shove, he does step up, especially when it comes to his friends. Like, he'll run away from almost any fight if he can do, but when he realizes, oh, I've got to do this for the crew that's now my family, because obviously that gets more and more as the story goes on, he does step up.
Right.
But again, he's not stupid about it. He won't just get himself killed. He'll plan for a way to counterattack. It's not just he can't do what Luffy and Zoro do in that, and Sanji, where they can just like, you know, tank it. It's like he can't. He'll die.
Yeah. It's just not too many thoughts on it. Just the fact that really cool that this is the first time you actually see him not be the wuss.
Yeah, it is the start of his character development. That is what he wants to do, and it's obviously a very big deal for Usopp, but it's very good baby steps of him stepping up for the first time. And obviously, you know, like he only does it the once in this bit, but it's like, yeah, but it's enough for now, because before he could not have done this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a really cool scene. But then obviously when we get back, and obviously everyone's won their individual fights, because it's very anime style, where you have the mini bosses, which is, again, it's fine, it's fun.
Yeah.
But then we have the Luffy and Arlong fight, which is a long one, but again, there's also funny moments. Luffy stealing Arlong's teeth.
Yeah.
Luffy going, "Oh my god, he's vanished! He's in the water, dumbass!" Stuff like that. It's very entertaining.
Yeah.
But then, but I like that. It just follows a lot with other stuff where it's like Arlong is a very strong guy, and Luffy does not just like dominate, but on land, Luffy has the advantage, and that's the point again. Like when he, and then we have the cool scenes of when they're in Nami's room. Luffy decides to destroy all of Arlong's work with Nami, because he knows this is like essentially her prison.
Yeah. Like the whole
and
building,
really,
and
then when he destroyed, he does the axe kick to destroy Arlong Park, because like in his mind he's destroying Arlong's dream.
Yeah.
Of taking over the world, because fuck Arlong. He made Nami. What was it he said? Like, I can't remember the exact line, but then Arlong just goes like, why have you come here? And then he just says, you made our navigator cry. You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Luffy's motivation is you upset my friend. Fuck you. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, at the time I saw that, I thought, what a weird thing to say. I thought, oh, you're holding my friend prisoner, blah, blah. Oh, no, you just made her cry. Fine. But yeah, it's really good. I liked it.
But again, that's Luffy's thing, because again, Luffy didn't hear her backstory. Luffy is just like, you are upsetting my friend. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Whereas everyone else knows Nami's lifelong struggle. Luffy is just like, I know this is upsetting you. I will help you because I can.
Yeah.
And it's just like nice and simple, and then they win, and they save it, and I love the little catharsis of them beating the shit out of the marine guy, and then obviously that's why Luffy gets his first bounty, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
And then I love that Luffy's picture is. Oh, sorry, Brent. Sorry, my doggo. I love that Luffy's first bounty picture is just him waving at the camera, because they're like, can't you get a more scary photo? And they're like, no, this is the only one. It's just him waving at the camera, going, hiya.
Yeah, kind of like the guy in Squid Game. He's just like, his picture is just him smiling at the camera.
But then they make a deal of like 30 million berries, and like in the grand scheme of things, that is a very small bounty, like, to the world. However, when we know that like Alvida was like 5 million and stuff like that, you're like, oh yes, they've given Luffy a leg up in the notoriety because the Rat Man was upset.
Yeah, I think I'm getting this part confused. So is it the fact that it's a big bounty for the fact that it's his first bounty, or is it just biggest of all?
It's a big first bounty.
Okay, because I think I think I heard a line in the after they get into the Grand Line. I could have sworn I heard someone say that it's like the biggest ever or something, but I could have got my lines crossed. That's fine.
I don't know. I'd have to see the exact line. There might just be a bit of a thing of it was either just like put in there as a thing before they knew, like as a. I know no, it wouldn't have been, because Funimation made it way later for the dubbing. Maybe it's just a thing where Oda hadn't decided how big the bounty should be yet, because he changed how. Because originally this was meant to be like a 5-year project. 25 years later, you know.
Right.
But like as far as let's just say, it's like for context, like for things later, like Shanks is a 3 billion berry bounty. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So you just for context, you know.
Yeah. I can't seem to find. It might just be me getting ahead of myself. No, I don't think I got it right. When the hell was the Treasure Island episode? Because I think we've passed. Have we passed that?
We have done. Yeah, that was before Baratie.
Okay.
It was after Sirat Village.
Fine.
I mean, we could talk about it. There's not really that much. I mean, it's a nice little arc, but there's not really that much to talk about in it.
So I was actually I'm gonna be a bit of a git here. I need to go to the bathroom, so you can just take the audience through that episode.
Yeah, sure. Do you want me just to like synopsis them?
Yeah. I'll only be a couple of minutes.
Yeah, no worries.
Cool.
Gather round, audience. Let me tell you a tale. The island where they find a man in a chest, and an island full of strange creatures. Basically, yeah. So Nami, Luffy, Usopp, and Zoro come across an island, and for trivia's sake, this is fun because in the manga this actually happened before Sirat Village, so Usopp wasn't there in the original source material, which is a very interesting thing just for like how the people that made the anime wanted to pace it. But it doesn't really matter; it doesn't change anything. But yeah, they come to this island. And they're just there in thing just to like explore it. It's just an island they come across. There's these weird creatures here, and they come across a man named Gaimon, and he is presenting himself as like a god of the forest to protect his treasure, which is the creatures on the island, and also his his physical treasure that he thinks at the top of a cliff. Yeah, and they just make friends with this guy when they basically catch him and. Actually end up chatting with him after Luffy basically saves him after the guy nearly shoots him. And you learn Gaimon's backstory. He was a pirate that got trapped on the island and he got stuck in a treasure chest. He's been there for years. And he's stuck in the chest. It's very silly. And they decide they want to help him, and Luffy just jumps up with his rubber powers to the top of the thing where the treasure chests are, and then you find out that the treasure chests were empty the whole time. And then, because Gaimon was a nice guy and Luffy likes him, Luffy offers for him to join the crew, but Gaimon refuses because he says he wants to look after his treasure, and his treasure is his animal friends, and it's very sweet. There's not much here to sink your teeth into, I guess. It's just a fun little storyline. That was just basically, I think it's just Oda having fun, just to show a bit of wackiness in the world, and then just to have a little nice storyline. That's it. I haven't really got much else to say. I think it's a perfectly okay little story. There's nothing particularly amazing or bad about it. It's just fun. And I'm just going to ruin Mayo's reputation by just having some awkward silence for him for a minute. So. Let's just sit here and contemplate life just until he gets back. Okay, I'm bored of that game. How is everyone? Everyone okay? That's good. In fact, I could do with going to the loo, actually. I might do a swapsies with Mayo when he gets back. But yeah, I think if you don't think that One Piece is incredible, then, you're wrong. But you're allowed to be wrong. It's okay. It's a free I don't know which country you're in, but I'm hoping it's free. Because I would like to own it. Actually, are there any countries for sale? I mean, in 1898, America bought the Philippines. It's kind of. Why can't we do that? What if me and Mayo can like crowdsource to buy a country? Call it the Republic of Niteng. Buy an island. We could do our own One Piece adventure. Islands for sale.
Okay, I'm back.
Honestly, I'm just going to say that we'll swap season. You can give your opinion because I need to go to the low. However, I was just bored and I was just chatting shit and I was just saying, I wonder if me and Mayo could buy an island and we can call it the Republic of Niteng. And then I started Googling it.
Have you gone into any more of what Niteng is before I say anything?
No, I mean the Niteng's obviously the sponsor, but I don't know how much you want to say. You know, I didn't know what the contract was that you had with them.
Okay, I can go through that while you urinate or whatever you need to do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just gonna stand in the bathroom awkwardly and look in the mirror just to have enough to, and then that's it. But I just feel it's appropriate.
Okay.
No, I've just gone through the arc, and I was just going to say, like, my opinion on it is that it's a fun little arc, but there's not really much to say about it. I just think it's one of those, it's neither good nor bad, it's mildly entertaining, it's just kind of got a nice little message to it, but,
Okay, I can possibly entertain people for a few minutes.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, this is one of the episodes where you will get something from it later on-ish, I believe just before you get to the Grand Line, but this is very much a filler episode mostly, but it does also highlight that not all as it seems. You might get like enemies and stuff where the guy is like trying to get his treasure from the top of the island and stuff, but when they get to the top, Luffy is like, I don't want to give this to you because it's empty, and the guy's like, oh yeah, great. Not too much to say about it. There's a lot of you think there's monsters in the island, but they're just indigenous life and they're not like evil or anything. It's just a very, very standard episode, and honestly I forgot where it was in the series because it didn't really have too much of an impact on me. It's just one of those, yeah, it's fine. There's a throwaway line later on in the series with Buggy. Essentially, Buggy's saying that, oh yeah, this Luffy guy's foiled my plans, and the guy in the chest is like, oh yeah, this is a guy that I really like, and like he's a great guy and stuff, great pirates. They're talking about the same person, but they don't make the link. Might get to that later. I can't remember whether that's the same season or not. Baller silence. Have you only just sent that? But yeah, not too much to say about it. As far as the arc that we're on at the moment with all the fish people, again, it's one of those where it's not necessarily episodic storytelling. It's one big thing in a whole lot of episodes. So whereas in traditional TV series and stuff, you might get like a two-parter or even a three-parter, and there's like a bit of a cliffhanger. It just seems like 15 minutes by 15 minutes there's always a cliffhanger, and you're like, oh come on, can this fight just get on with it? But with this one, you're kind of hooked. I like it. It's one of those where, bear in mind, anyone who's kind of got into One Piece recently, that even though there are like 1,000 episodes and such at the moment, it's a case that back in the day, and I didn't know this until recently, that it was released on a weekly basis, like it kind of is being right now on Netflix. And any time you get to one of these tiny parts of the battle, you kind of having to wait a week for it. As far as I understand, so there's a lot more anticipation for the next part of the battle, as opposed to if you're binging it, it does feel like, oh for God's sake, can you just get on with it? I hate the fact that it keeps stopping, etc, etc. So kind of have to look at it in like, oh yeah, these were weeks apart.
I'm back.
No, you're front. Yeah.
I'll tell you.
What do you think about that?
Hang on. I need mine in a tank for my security in a tank. It's
But yeah,
muscle relaxant and a form of cocaine.
yeah, I don't know whether you just caught what I just said, but it was a case of, even though these fight scenes and stuff tend to go over like a good amount of episodes, what you got to remember is that back in the day, as has been shown, it was a weekly thing, they're not being binged. So where it might be annoying where it just cuts off for the next episode to begin, you're like, come on, let's just get on with this. It was a case that back in the day, people were like waiting for weeks for these battles to end.
I mean, I like the battles. I don't see any issues.
No, not in a bad way, waiting for them to end. It's just like every single tiny cliffhanger in each part of the battle, you're waiting for the next week and the next week and the next week, and it's like kind of almost good torture.
I mean, that's kind of why. I mean, I love One Piece, but it's why, like, even with the newest series, I love it. But I'm not watching it weekly because I don't like watching like piecemeal. I'll wait for like a good chunk to come out, binge them, and then wait and then do it a bit more.
Yeah.
Because I don't like the piecemeal aspect. Not like as in I don't like the episode, but what I mean is I do this for every series I watch, like ever. There's very few series that I watch week by week, unless it's because like the pure curiosity. Like Doctor Who is like one that I will watch weekly. First of all, when it was good Doctor Who, they were episodic anyway, so it wasn't like and you only occasionally had a two-parter, so it didn't really
Yeah.
They were like the only times you were like, ah, oh, damn. But then obviously the new one that was more like out of like, I need to know how cringe this is.
Yeah.
And the answer was very, but
extremely. Yeah, and I suppose with serialized storytelling, you kind of like, you may as well wait until it's all done with and watch it, because you're just going to be like cliffhanger after cliffhanger
it makes
every
sense,
single week.
though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When you consider the, I know you said about like it being episodic, but it's the same. It's the exact same point you're making, but from like even an adaptation into the anime, where obviously the comic strips had like the exact same thing, where it was like each chapter, which was like obviously showed less than per episode. It was like 2 chapters per episode, kind of, maybe even 2.5. But obviously they kind of have to have some form of cliffhanger at least early on to try to hook the audience.
Yeah.
But so you can kind of see why there's so many of them, because of like they purposely were cut off at those points to make it more of like a tune into Dragon Ball next week to find out what happens to that kind of thing, which is like, yeah, I get it, but I'm like, although I don't mind them being the cliffhangers, I'd rather have the cliffhanger and go, that was awesome, next episode now.
Yeah.
No waity.
Right. Yeah, I was just thinking that while I was away from you just then, is that I kind of wish I did get into this back in the day. I wouldn't have known about it. I've actually never heard of it until people started talking about the live action version. But I just wish I had it in my life, because it would have been one of those where I would have been addicted to it week in, week out. And it wasn't just a thing of like 7 series like Star Trek was, where you'd rewatch it. It's been ongoing.
Yeah, luckily for you, Mayo, even when you catch up, there'll probably be at least like 4 or 5 years left of it to do that with.
Yeah, some people are saying it's going to be in the next 10 years that it's going to find.
Right. We are in the final saga. Every saga though has been longer than the last, and the last saga I think was like 8 years. So this one, people have like memes, but in like a non-jokey way, that it's going to be like at least a decade. I don't know if it'll be that long, but I wouldn't be surprised if it took about 5 years. And we've been doing this last saga for about a year.
Right.
And that's been just one island. And we're literally just leaving it. But
Yeah, when people thought the MCU was big.
Yeah, well, I mean, but One Piece is actually good, so.
Yeah.
There's a major difference there.
When I say MCU, I mean strictly Tony Stark era.
Luckily for you, Mayo, he's coming back as Dr. Dom.
Dr. Dom. Infinity Stone War thingy saga, I meant.
Yeah, because we had the absolute titans of Black Panther and Captain Marvel to see us through those sagas. I know what you mean. I'm joking. But,
I know.
Because I used to love the MCU as well, and then I was just like, wow, this is cringe.
Yeah.
like everyone fucking else did, because it was not a secret. But
Nope.
anyway, we're not going to get down that
Yeah,
fucking rabbit hole.
we're not talking about crap stuff today. We're talking about good stuff. One Piece good.
Yay.
Always watch One Piece.
One Piece good, Disney bad.
Even when One Piece is done, still watch it. Just like, yeah.
I mean, I've rewatched One Piece a lot, and you know how many episodes there are.
When you say rewatched, do you mean number 1 to 1000, whatever it is?
So I have watched it up until like where we're at. I mean, I'm a bit behind now, obviously, because like I said, I'm letting it get ahead of it, but you know what I mean? Like, I finished to the end of Wano, which is the last major, and I've watched a bit of Egghead. I've watched... Actually, sorry, that's a lie. So I've watched that bit... I've watched that in Japanese. I've watched all that I have on DVD in English, which is about 800 and some episodes, nearly 900.
Right.
And I have been watching it with my friend Alex, who I got into One Piece, where we're on episode 400 and something. And now I'm making my girlfriend watch it, and we're on episode like 100 and something.
Now,
and every so often, when I watch it, whenever I get bored, I will just rewatch one like an island arc, because I just want to rewatch it, especially when I'm smoking weed and I go, I want to rewatch this arc.
Now, not that we want to get into this in this stream, but if you were to say have children with your girlfriend, that's another reason, not just to have kids so you can watch more One Piece, but it's a reason to watch more One Piece, to do it with your kids.
Yeah, I'm gonna educate them in the one true religion. Yeah. We've already said this, and unironically, when we've been talking about this, she has said you have to wait till they're older. I'm like, I can't promise that.
Why did you put in the chat silence?
Oh, because I had I when I finished explaining the arc, you know, the Gaiman one with the treasure chest dude. Okay. I basically just said I spoke for a little bit, and I went, you know what, we're just gonna have a minute silent, and then I muted myself for about 30 seconds, typed in silence, and then I went, I'm bored now, let's start talking nonsense, because I already got bored.
No,
so
yeah.
There's like about 30 seconds in your video where it's silence, and then I go, I'm bored now, and then I start talking about buying an island.
Yeah, no, when I got back and you went away, I thought, okay, I'll put my 2 cents about it now. And then about 10 seconds went past and I thought, oh shit, I've got to talk more about it, haven't I?
It's not much to say. Oh, by the way, do you know something funny, as I get trivia before we go on to like the final bit of East Blue?
Yeah.
So Gaimon is the author's favourite character.
Okay.
just which I think is funny. Like, he just goes, I love the dude. And recently, well, not recently, but recently in the grand scheme of things and how long One Piece is, that guy in the treasure chest has now got himself a girlfriend. Oh, a wife, actually. And it's a woman trapped in a barrel. It is really funny. like, okay, I'll just see if I can find the picture. Hang on. Yeah, it's just really, again, it's just funny.
Yeah. Very good.
So that's more of just a bit of silly trivia.
What kind of episode number are we looking at when Luffy gets married?
I doubt Luffy will get married.
I thought there was a storyline where he was in a wedding or something.
There's one when he goes to a wedding.
Oh, okay. I thought
that's the picture, by the way.
Where you putting this?
Oh, in the this one where it's me and you talking.
Oh, okay.
I can send it directly to you.
No, it's fine. Yeah. Discord's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. That's from the manga. Look at them. They're so happy together. Look at them. They're so cute.
Yep.
I
like the way. I like how it puts the word caution on her.
Yeah, it's just the barrel. She said because it was an explosive barrel, I think, that she got stuck in. Yeah, they're on Whole Cake Island. They crash a wedding.
Lovely. Oh, that's probably it then. Because I thought someone went head over heels for Luffy or something, and then.
Yeah, that happens as well. That's a different storyline.
Okay.
There's a lot of One Piece.
Okay, so we get to the next saga.
You might want to go back here. We've disappeared from the stream. There we go. I was just seeing it on the stream. Sorry.
Okay. Are we back?
Yeah, we're fine.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Didn't know why we went there.
I think it was just when you were looking at Gaimon, it was just his afro took over us because you scrolled down. I think that was it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I was just to make sure that you had it. But anyway, yeah. So we've got the little buggy arc, haven't we?
Yes. So we get now to this. Is it the last island before the Grand Line where all the pirates go?
Yes.
And it was
Logtown.
Essentially, this is the place where the One Piece.
It's where Gold Roger was born and died.
Yeah, where he was executed. Which I have a slight theory, because I'm going ahead here a little bit, but the part where Buggy and the woman for the first episode that now looks absolutely beautiful.
Because she had a devil fruit. Yeah.
Yeah. So when lightning hits and the stand goes down, does that have any significance later in giving Luffy more power, or is that just a thing that happened?
Someone did that.
Huh?
I guess it's not a spoiler because I thought it was kind of obvious. The guy in the green cape did that.
Now, what I mean is that the lightning that hit the stand and Luffy was still on that stand, does that eventually lead to him getting powers?
No.
Different. Okay, that's fine.
No, that was just that guy made lightning strike there to save Luffy.
Okay, that's fine. But yeah, they're on this island. Luffy's going nuts, wanting to be at the place where the thingy was killed.
Luffy. So everyone else is gathering supplies and equipment. Luffy is sightseeing.
Yeah,
it is great. I adore Logtown. I think it's hilarious. Mainly Luffy and Zoro stuff, I'd say, but like I like Usopp's little adventure, but I think Sanji's one is kind of just like weird.
Yeah.
Nami doesn't really have a story on this island, I don't think.
As they arrived to the island, did they, or am I thinking about a different saga, different thing? Did they say to Luffy, by the way, we are just here to get supplies. Do not go on any adventures. We're just here to stop. And then,
yes. Yeah. Then he immediately fucks off because he does.
Yeah.
So essentially. So Usopp's wants to just gather like kits. So he obviously buys a lot of tack because he's duped, which goes on his own little adventure. I don't know if we want to just talk about them individually, but we'll just go. Sanji is looking for food and obviously goes on his little contest for the elephant fin tuna.
Mm-hmm.
Zoro wants to find 2 new swords because it's the 2 that Mihawk broke. Nami's just kind of shopping and fucking about. She hasn't really got much of a storyline here. She's buying clothes and stuff like that, which is fine. And then obviously Luffy wants to see where Gold Roger dies because Gold Roger's such an interesting person for Luffy because of obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But I like the stuff that we learn on the island. I mean, obviously we had that little storyline of Buggy and Alvida meeting, that we see in that 2-episode adventure on the way there. There's not really much to say about it. It's fine. It's mainly like a kind of a little gag storyline, but it explains how Buggy got himself back together and then obviously why Alvida is the way she is and stuff like that. It's fine. And how they met. It's just a little side story that just like sets up some other stuff. Karen.
I'd be interested to see who would play Alvida in live action in slim version, or whether the actress will actually like lose weight.
I mean, I don't know. I'm curious as well. We'll see what they do with Logtown.
Yeah.
But we also on this island we meet Smoker, and he is like the first. Well, not the first because we saw the regular Marines, but he is like the first boss like Marine that's a genuine good guy.
Yeah.
Like he is an antagonist to Luffy because Luffy is a pirate and he wants to arrest him because he has a bounty. But that's just him doing his job in his eyes, protecting the public. Like he's not a bad guy. Like, and also we have like I love the little subversion where that little girl runs into him and he drops the ice cream and the guy's immediately like, oh my god, and then he just says, I love the line. He just goes, I'm sorry, little girl, my pants appear to have eaten your ice cream, and then he just gives her some money to buy more, and you're like, oh, this guy's such a Chad.
Yeah.
Like he's just like he is a nice guy. He's awesome.
Like the parents is like, oh no, please don't kill my daughter. Like please let her go. And it's like, oh yeah, no problem. Here's some more money.
Yeah. I mean, he's like, again, it just I like the nuance of the whole story where it's like, yeah, we've seen some asshole Marines, we've seen quite a few of them, but obviously we saw some asshole pirates. It's like, yeah, but there's some good Marines. That's why they exist. Like there are obviously people that join the Marines because power goes to their head, or they want to do it because they want to get privileges or whatever, bribes, blah blah blah, whatever. But then obviously Smoker seems to be just be a genuine guy. He wants to help, like he wants to stop pirates because he thinks they're not good for the world. So his job is to stop pirates entering the Grand Line. So that's why he arrests quite a lot. And it's just like, yeah. And even when he's fighting like Luffy and that later, he's not cruel or anything like that. He is trying to arrest him.
Yeah, he's doing essentially just doing his job.
He's not even being a dick to Luffy. Like, I guess he's a bit like, he taunts him a little, saying that you're not strong enough. But like, in fairness, it's actually just more like an observation statement, because Luffy can't beat Smoker because of his devil fruit.
Yeah.
Like, it's the first Logia devil fruit we see where somebody turns into an element.
Yeah.
Like Luffy can't punch him, so it's like, yeah, Luffy needs to just run away, and that's what happens.
Yeah. Question: at what point does Luffy actually lose his powers and have it drained? Is it just when he goes in water? Because it was raining heavily. Is it water itself, or just the fact that if he's in the ocean or something?
You have to be in like a pool of water. Like they can drink water. Rain is fine, but if he was submerged, I think it tends to, when they get to shin level, is like a tub of water is when it starts to drain them.
So if say is having,
Karen,
if he has a water cannon shot at him, would that do the same thing?
Yeah, it would weaken him, but it would run off and he would get better again. There's actually a storyline later where somebody chucks a bucket of water over him and it makes him woozy for a minute.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't completely drain him, but it definitely throws him for a loop and he starts feeling the effects without it completely knocking him off. Luffy's an interesting one though, because Luffy doesn't really lose his powers ever though, because Luffy is made of rubber. You can't turn that off. It's just Luffy just gets really weak.
Okay.
Because remember when Luffy was under the water, they could still stretch his neck and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So his thing, it's a bit like how there's a lot of lore and a lot of stuff that you'll get to eventually in that, but it's how there's lots of differences in devil fruits, and obviously how you should pay attention to Luffy's power as being its own kind of unique as well, but not I'm trying to think. Not it's like he suddenly has the power of God or anything. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not so stupid. But you know what I mean. If Buggy fell in the water, which I think he maybe does, but he wouldn't be able to start splitting up because his powers would essentially be turned off. Whereas Luffy is always made of rubber, but he can't once he's in the water, he's just sort of drained and he can't move.
Right.
So basically anyone with a devil fruit, if they need to activate their power, let's just take Smoker as the hypothetical. Mm-hmm. Smoker can turn into smoke and he can split himself, and then obviously he doesn't get really hurt from physical attacks and stuff like that, because he just turns to smoke.
Mm-hmm.
If Smoker fell into the ocean, he would not be able to do that anymore because it would sort of turn off his ability to turn it on and off kind of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, but raining, it doesn't count. It's just it is what it is kind of thing. It has to be submerged to a degree.
Okay.
But yeah.
Where were we?
We were just saying about getting to the island. I think we just done the Alvida and Buggy thing. I think we were just saying about how they were sightseeing and they were doing their own adventures. I don't know if you had anything really to say about any of their own storylines. I think Zoro is probably the most interesting to talk about.
Yeah, Zoro's more interesting. Usopp was just comical, how he's fighting against this little kid to get his goggles.
And then you had that. It had a little bit of character with his dad, so he kind of proved that he can step up, but he doesn't want to. You know what I mean? So it's more just another little tiny thing to push him towards his end goal. But nothing major. Nami is in every storyline to a tiny degree. She lends Zoro money. She ends up being with Usopp and stuff, and then she watches the cooking contest. The Sanji's major thing is that he simps again, which is just kind of cringe. But then he wins a tournament and then gets the elephant fin tuna, which isn't really important, but it's more just a kind of a bit of flavor is why they have their first meal on the Grand Line, isn't it? With it, but that's later.
Yeah.
But Zoro's one is how he gets his 2 new swords, but there is actually a bit of storyline there. And then there's also Tashigi, who looks like his childhood friend.
Yeah. And later on, she's helping him out when he's getting the swords, but then realizes, oh, you're a pirate, you should have told me this.
Yeah, I like that little back and forth. I think it's quite funny where she's just like, "You lied to me," and he goes, "I
No, I
didn't lie."
didn't. Just didn't tell you.
Yeah, and then she's like, "Well, you admitted it," and then he's like, "Look, just stop acting like this dead girl I know." And she's like, "Excuse me, it's not my fault. I fucking look like your dead girlfriend." And like, I think it's quite funny. Like, you're setting up a relationship with them, like not in the romantic sense, but you know what I mean. Like, these characters do meet again at some point, and it carries on. It's so funny just to see how big the world is, and it's just really kind of it's a very entertaining back and forth. We also see that Zoro gets a cursed sword.
Yeah.
Allegedly, it's like a legendary sword, but it's like got like a history of like getting its owners killed, I think is what they say. And then he also gets given like a non-special sword, but that's still like really well made, and again, he gets given it because that guy feels bad for trying to trick him because he's like, oh shit, Zoro's like the real deal.
Yeah.
Which is just like a fun little storyline, but there's not really much else to say, is there? It's just that it is what it is. The important thing is more what Luffy was doing.
Yeah, because they're like storylines that would just matter later. This is just saving for later. Yeah, so Luffy.
I love it when he first meets Smoker, and Smoker just tells him the way to go, and he's like, cheers, because obviously Luffy's just like, well, first of all, there's two things. I like it just because Luffy acting just like a decent guy doesn't really make Smoker like suspicious. And then secondly, they make it clear as well that Luffy's bounty hasn't come in yet because it's like, obviously it's just been released, so it's still being faxed around, so it makes sense there as well. So it's like, but it's still like later that day, and obviously they haven't been traveling for that long, so you don't feel like it's just like a cop out. It's like, no, I feel that this tracks.
Yeah.
And the moment Smoker finds out Luffy's a pirate, he's like, oh, I get him. I like it though when they meet on the thingy, and then Luffy accidentally sends himself flying. And it's just like, Smoker's just like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, it's for the memes. But yeah, obviously, there's lots of like silly jokes. Luffy and Zoro have food, and Buggy accidentally pays for it and stuff like that. And then when they get to the balcony where Luffy is standing on Gold Roger's execution platform, that's when he gets like accidentally trapped by Buggy, and Buggy's going to execute him. And the gang can't save him, but Lightning Strike saves him.
Yeah.
And this is the start of something that pisses me the fuck off, because people keep saying that there's a lot of Deus Ex Machina and, you know, for like, you know, Luffy not being killed. And it's like every fucking time people say this, there is a very logical explanation as to like why Luffy does not die. Like it is because of somebody's choice that Luffy isn't dead. Like that wasn't a random lightning strike. I felt that was really fucking obvious.
Right.
Especially with what we see that guy do with the wind and stuff like that, you know.
Right.
You know, the mysterious man.
Yeah. I'm a little bit foggy on the rest of this arc now, because I think I might have had a sleep when I was watching it. Do I remember like a huge gust of wind or something?
Yeah. So I'll tell you. I'll go through it quick. So after the guys try and save Luffy, because Nami and Usopp go into the ship. They save it from the guy and Richie, don't they? And then they start sailing it away because the Marines are gonna, you know, stop them, you know, confiscate the ship.
Yeah.
So that's their job. They do that. That's fine. They have their own little thing where they stop the lion guy. They hit him. They fuck off. Blah blah. It's fine. And then Sanji and Zoro go to save Luffy. They don't get there in time, but the lightning strike comes obviously and knocks down the tower. Luffy is fine because, I mean, it's a lightning strike and he's made of rubber, you know, so he's fine.
Right.
Which I think is like a nice little detail. I think it's a nice little bit a bit of detail. And then they try to get away. They have a little fight with the gang, but they like Alvida and Buggy aren't really a match. We find out Alvida at the smooth fruit, so things just slide off her, and it makes her sexy for some reason. And everyone, and then obviously just feeds into her ego because she always thought she was beautiful. And then they get chased down by Smoker. Then we find out that obviously Luffy has literally no options in fighting Smoker. He can't, like, nothing he does can stop him. And then just as like Smoker's about to arrest him, the man with the green like traveling cape stops Smoker, and then in the chaos he causes that gust of wind to like blow through the entirety of Logtown to like, you know, distract everyone. And then Luffy slingshots the group over to the ship and they get away, and then Smoker talks to Green Cloak guy saying, "Why did you help him?" And then he says it's not our place to stop him on an adventure. And then he makes like a little speech, like saying, "If you want to be a pirate, then go for it." And it's like you're like, who's this? Who's this Greenman? But that's basically that, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. The next one is the creature.
Warship Island.
That's the fella. I don't know. Do you feel? I mean, I like the arc. I really did like the arc. But do you feel that it's like, and just another one just to fit in just before they get to the Grand Line?
I enjoy it. It is actually filler. It's not in the original source material.
Yeah, I kind of hope so, because it just felt like it was planted there. It's like you got through the main island, you had all the buggy stuff and the smoke guy, and it's like just another thing. Come on, let's get to the Grand Line.
No, it totally is. It was a thing which they put into like let the manga like get ahead of it. Is actually what it was. It's one of those ones which I prefer them to them just like artificially extending the story like on the islands, I'd say, but yeah, it's fine. I like Warship Island. I think it's fun. But I agree with you, it's very, very okay. There's some good stuff in there, but
yeah.
But you can tell, because that's why when they leave Logtown it's stormy.
Yeah,
that's why the moment they get back to Reverse Mountain it starts storming again.
Right.
So you know what I mean? It's like when you like realize it, you're like, oh yeah, that yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So that sickle fruit is like a made up thing. It's not really in the source material, but there's there's no reason why that wouldn't exist.
I kind of felt like that little girl with the dragon thing. Was it a dragon? I can't remember.
It was like its own species, but yeah, it was basically a dragon.
I kind of almost felt that she was going to be a member of the crew at one point, because they was kind of asking her to go with them, kind of thing. And then I thought, at the very least, if she did, that would be a good point to that arc, but it never happened. I was
it's in keeping with Luffy if he likes them, which he did. Like, what was her name? Aris, I think, or something like that. But
yeah.
She like Luffy probably would ask her, but obviously she said no. But yeah, it's very much just like a storyline to fill time.
Yeah, which I don't think they needed. I mean, there's the East Blue was it's already 61 episodes. I didn't think they needed another.
Yeah, it was very much because it was made during the era of we need weekly episodes. So when they ran out of source material, they were just like, oh shit, let's make 10 episodes or 8 episodes or however long it was, to give the author like another couple of months to write more stuff for us to work from.
So I didn't realize that. So it was basically
no. It is filler. Like I said, it's not part of the main story.
No, what I mean was it the case of the anime was happening at the same time as the manga? Right. Or is it like they had loads to go with it? Just I don't know.
No, I mean I don't know this for certain, but like they were making it very similar time as the manga, so they were basically getting to the point where they were starting to catch up. So they wanted to use it as a point to give him more time, because.
No, that makes sense.
I think it makes sense to put it there as well, because we won't get into it now. We'll do it for another stream whenever we decide to do it. But obviously, the moment you start Reverse Mountain, there is basically a continuous storyline. You can't add like filler in there because you'd ruin the flow. So I think they put it there so that they didn't do it later and ruin like the storyline. Because here it doesn't feel like wrong. It's just obviously filler, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But like it doesn't feel like, I guess, out of place. It's just like when you notice it, you're like, yeah, I totally see it being filler. There is actually a plot hole though in it, like that fucks up with storylines later that they wouldn't have known, but I don't know why. And that's when Zoro cuts the chains.
Yeah, and it kind of, and I don't know whether it feels like to you, but it did to me slightly the same kind of thing as the thing they come up against just after they go over the peak of Reverse Island and they get the whale. I feel that like, okay, they're finally in the Grand Line, and like, or immediately it's just like, for God's sake, when are we gonna get to the main adventures?
What do you mean?
The thing with the whale that keeps headbutting the island.
Are we talking about that now?
No, we're not going to talk about the thing now, but I'm just saying, the thing, this arc that we're talking about right now with the dragon, felt kind of like the whale in that it's filler, and like,
The whale's not filler.
Is it not?
No, the whale's very important.
Okay, fine. We won't talk about that right now, though. Yeah. So essentially, thing that keeps blowing, making waves and stuff is dragon. They
I'll say like though I enjoyed it. I've only actually watched Warship Arc like once, so I only remember like the cliff notes of it. So you probably know more about it than I do.
Right.
I remember I had fun with it, but.
So essentially, there's a hitman going after the Straw Hats. There's the freaking there's this massive dragon that.
And then there's the fat ass admiral guy.
Yeah.
Well, admiral, sorry, Navy man, sorry.
Yeah. And essentially, they're trying to find a home or something for the dragon. There's a big island that looks like a warship, and by the way, it's called Warship Island. Essentially, they're looking around for this like nest that Nami's trying to figure out maps for, and essentially it's an island that only comes up every 1,000 years or something, and it's very formulaic, I guess.
Yeah, it's fine. You feel like you can tell that some like TV writer was like, you have this many episodes, please write us a story to fill time.
Yeah.
And then they're like, all right, I can make a story.
It felt to me like it's a very much, and then this happens, and then that happens.
Yeah, like there's nothing wrong with it, but yeah, it's probably at this point the most derivative story in One Piece, but like I guess that's kind of by design, but I don't want to use that as an excuse because there's no reason it couldn't have been more interesting but you know what I mean. It's
right.
Like. I think the best way to put it is that it's a perfectly serviceable bit of story just to fill time.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. And it's like, yeah, if you watch it and you like One Piece like I did, you're probably going to have a good time with it, but it's not really, there's nothing memorable about it. It's just fine.
Yeah, agreed. So then, after that happens, they get to Reverse Island, figure out that why a lot of people couldn't get over Reverse Island into the Grand Line is because you have to go through it in a very specific way. You have to get
Reverse Mountain has the current, doesn't it, going up it? It's very exciting. It's really cool.
Yeah, so it has a current. You got to go through a very specific crack, and if you don't go through that crack, then you essentially your ship gets blasted. You end up at the bottom of the sea, type of thing. So that's apparently why a lot of people haven't even got into the Grand Line. They just happen to get the one spot, and then figure out that essentially.
I'll tell you what though, I don't want to say it as like a plot hole because it's not, but as a bit of world building, you'd think the Navy would have people like there, wouldn't you? Like they'd build something on like on like the side of it or something. But you know, whatever. I just find it weird.
It's kind of like Star Trek Voyage if you saw it with the final episode in game with the warp, the transwarp thing. They got it's inside a nebula infested with Borg, and they have to try and get through it. Whereas this was just empty. But they had the storyline from the last arc with the dragon that there's a hitman after them. There's this guy that's trying to stop them. It's fine, I guess. So essentially, the way they get into the Grand Line is that water goes up the hill. They have to get into the one bit of it. They finally get it. Bad guy dies, or it goes into the water, and then they get over it. Again, just I don't know.
Yeah, it's very basic, but then you get the cool shot. I mean, I think as a way just to say how this saga ends, and it's a beautiful picture. It's literally them coming down the mountain, and then they have like the whale blocking their path, and that kind of still frame is how the manga like ended it. I think that's not how the episode ends on the first one, but you know what I mean. That is like essentially the cliffhanger for the audience to go, oh shit, this is the Grand Line. Shit's getting real. There's already like a fucking whale the size of a fucking island that's in their path, and you're like, and then that's kind of the cutoff, and then that is like the start of the Grand Line adventure.
Yep. That's about it for the season so far. What I will say as a general thought is that when I initially announced to you and the other guys in Discord that I was going to start One Piece, I did say to you that, oh yeah,
I remember.
I'm just going to do one episode every day while I have my lunch break because I don't have much time. And then, oh fuck.
Yeah, it's good.
It's something that your life does get ruined for a while going to it, because it's not even, again, it has lots of episodes in it, but there's a lot of it that isn't episodic, in that you kind of it draws you in, and you have it's like what's that term, FOMO. You need to see the next episode.
Yeah, because it's really well written.
Yeah,
it's and even with it being a very silly world, it's not a silly storyline. I mean, I know it's a really weird way of putting it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like the storylines can be quite silly, but what I mean is, even though it looks silly, it's a very vibrant world. You've got these larger than life characters, and it's all very abnormal. But like, you totally get invested in like the plot that's happening, and you don't feel like I hear this a lot, and I feel that pretty much all of this is from people that only have seen images of One Piece, where they say One Piece is for kids, and I'm like, yeah, you've not actually watched it.
Yeah, no.
I think One Piece could be watched by kids, but I'd be like, if I was showing like someone under 10, I'd be like, you kind of want to. I think that's like PG minimum.
Yeah, because they do say words like "you bastards" and things like that.
Well, not even just that. I mean, there are lots of things to like death, and there's lots of like people getting fucked up and stuff. And even though a lot of people don't die, like you have the flashbacks, like Nami's like mum being killed, and then obviously Sanji almost starving to death.
Yeah. And I mean,
Shanks losing his arm. There's just lots in there that's not kid friendly. Like, yeah, I'd say it's not overt. Like, I'd say a kid watching it probably isn't going to be scarred, but like, it's definitely not like little kiddie friendly.
It's borderline, I guess, probably. And you get like in the Snow Mountain where they get Chopper, it's like Luffy's trying to get up the freaking mountain. His
finger's bleeding. Yeah. Like, oh, hardcore.
Like, Jesus Christ, man, this is a cartoon. You know.
And then especially gets fucked up later, like as a thing, like when you start to get into like world politics and slavery and stuff like that. Yeah, like One Piece is a whole world that's got like social political issues and stuff like that. I'd be like, yeah, when somebody tells me that One Piece is just for kids, I'm like, you haven't watched it.
Yeah, no.
And like not even in a mean way. I'm just like, I just know for a fact you haven't watched it. If you don't like it, that's fine. But if you're telling me it's for kids, you're wrong. It's not.
And by the way, for people watching this, any time recently that I've been like mentioning where I am in the whole One Piece in Discord, I keep saying to you, can this show just not make me cry every 5 fucking seconds? That'd be really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, like when we're talking about like Chopper's backstory, you're like,
man. That's like, oh my god.
And then the ending with well, like you said, like with the cannon fire and that, and you're like, oh, it's so beautiful. It's such a poetic ending. It's so well constructed as a story.
Yeah, and the whole freaking the tower thing. It actually looks like a tree.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Alabasta for the next time, but it's just One Piece is I would say like it's the author wants to have fun, so he wants you to be like in a merry mood. That's why there's lots of jokes. Why it's very vibrant. You've got these very silly characters, but it's like, the moment you start like getting invested, you realize that these are like serious storylines with lots can happen, and then like if like Luffy and the gang aren't on a fun, silly adventure, even if that's how they come across as like acting the way it is, like they could die if they don't. Like Arlong and Krieg and Kuro, like they're trying to kill them. Like Luffy and that get hurt. But you know.
Yeah.
Zoro gets like fucking almost cut in half. It's like a test.
Speaking of which, one thing that does it get any better or any worse? The fact that Luffy is an absolute freaking moron a good amount of the time, because like we was discussing on Discord, the fight between him and Zoro, that could have literally just been sorted out by them talking even a small amount.
I'll tell you. So, as far as like the world is concerned, that was more or less didn't happen. Even like it does, it's definitely canon. But that was Oda was forced to write that in because he basically, I think like the One Piece like popularity went down like one place or something like that.
Jesus Christ!
I don't know if you know like how Shonen Jump works, but they have like popularity polls, and One Piece went down a little bit, and so his editor was like, right, Luffy and Zoro are the most popular characters. You have to get them to fight so we can have like a talking point. And Oda was like forced to do it.
And that's
So that
why
is, like,
that's why you don't freaking.
yeah, but so as far as like people that know One Piece are concerned, that is more or less like a blip, and you just don't count it. You're like, Oda was forced to do this, the poor bastard. It's kind of an unfortunate mark against the show. Everyone's like, yeah, we understand, Oda, that wasn't your fault. And the thing is that people believe Oda when he says that, because quite often if people say about criticisms about One Piece, he'll usually just say like that it was just his decision, and he'll either just like defend it or just own up to it. But like there's like only like that and one other thing where he's just been like, yeah, that wasn't my fault. Then it's like,
Yeah, because for all the things that, I mean, there is a lot of One Piece when you're freaking watching. I'm not just talking about the episode counts. There's a lot of stuff in there.
yeah.
But with that specific fight, it is something that just it's still lingering.
It's fucking nonsensical. It's absolutely dog shit.
It is an eyesore.
And you can tell with how it ends, like Nami just comes in and says, right, stop it, this is silly. And you're like, oh, thank fuck.
Yeah. Because if they do that, if they got on a complete arc with that just one fight like they tend to do, it's like, for God's sake, I would have just, back in the day, I'd have just turned it off.
I think that is also why it's so short. He basically did what he was like kind of forced to do and no more.
Yeah.
He was like, right, I am doing this one chapter for my editor because they've said that I need to do it. And then the moment he had done that chapter, he's like, right, we're fucking ignoring that.
Yeah.
It is never mentioned again, and One Piece is very big on like recalling everything that happens. Like there's so many like callbacks, things that have happened and set up, and it's like one of the few things that just is genuinely just never touched on again because it's fucking ridiculously silly.
Yeah, because like.
But so that is that's a one-time thing. Thank fuck.
But again,
don't get me wrong,
even
there's some fights with the crew, but they are all of them are way better like character-driven things rather than because Luffy is an idiot.
Yeah,
that
like,
never happens again.
Like I could have accepted that scene if there was something where someone was being mind controlled, for example.
Yeah.
I'd have got that, but it was just one line of dialogue, and that wouldn't have happened.
No, I know. Well, actually, I don't think I genuinely, with how much Luffy trusts his crew, I don't think it would have. I don't think anything it would have happened at all.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't think Luffy. If Luffy had seen Zoro fighting everyone, I think Luffy would have been like, "Oh shit, I need to ask Zoro what's happening."
Yeah.
Because he trusts Zoro. Like it's genuinely like a character like detriment that happens. You have to ignore it as just like Luffy had a retard for like a scene because unfortunate like God struck him with it for 10 minutes unfortunately, and you're like, yeah, just ignore that. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
It is definitely one of the major. It doesn't like ruin One Piece as a whole, but yeah, it is definitely one of the things that everyone universally just goes, yeah, fuck off. And Oda himself went, yeah, fuck off. They don't like it. So yeah.
Good. I don't think I could handle a scene like that again.
I know we're meant to talk about it, but like just to reassure Mayo, yeah, that doesn't happen again or anything like it. Thank fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were not alone. Everyone thought that was stupid.
Yep. I think that's about it, unless you have any other thoughts about the series you want to share. I know as a first-time person watching it, it's like, where the hell has this been in my life? Why has no one ever told me about this? I hate everything.
Right? I know, right? It's like, I don't think everyone agrees with me like this because of obvious reasons, like there's so many, but I'm genuinely like, wow. I would definitely say One Piece is one of the best stories ever written. I mean, personally, I think it's my favorite story ever written, but like, I understand that wouldn't be the same for everyone, but I'm like, no, it is absolutely phenomenal. It's so like genuinely, like, don't get me wrong, it's got flaws. We've even mentioned them in this one, haven't we? The stuff that we didn't like, but which is how I think that we know that we're not shills. But which is nice. Like we'll be like, no, these things were silly, but Oda's a writer where, in fact, like Oda makes a lot of stuff up as he goes. Like you know the 7 warlords that are like hinted at.
Right.
You know, we see Mihawk and like I think Jinbei's mentioned, but like they just say it.
Yeah.
That was literally there because he thought 7 sounded like a cool number. Like yeah, stuff like that. But the thing is that the reason that Oda's such a good writer, even though he like makes stuff up on the spot, he just goes, right, this is in the law now. I'll remember it.
Jesus. Has he got like an eidetic memory or something then?
I mean, unironically, yes. There is so much stuff, even in like modern storylines, like you know what I mean, like the manga that's being released weekly still at the minute.
Yeah.
Something occasionally will happen, and you'll be like, "Oh shit, that was mentioned like 20 years ago."
Shut that down now. There you go.
So yeah, he's a madman. He's like, unironically, he is a genius writer, and it's a testament of, like, I think when people are like, you have to write by planning and stuff like that. It's like, no, you don't have to. You just have to be good at it. And he is just an incredible. Like I said, he just remembers what he wrote. So if he just makes some up because it sounds cool,
Yeah.
he'll just stick to it. It happens a lot with like devil fruit powers. Like somebody asks him, like, "Oh, how many devil fruit like abilities have you like pre-planned?" And he just goes, "Oh, I never do. I just write what I think is cool at the time." But then obviously from then on, like. Let's just say, like, honestly, like, let's just say, like, Smoker with the smoke with the plume fruit, sorry,
Right.
his smoke powers. He was like said, like, yeah, I didn't plan that, like, when I first started the series. He was like, but when I was inventing the character Smoker, he's like, well, obviously turning into smoke suits him with his chain smoker and stuff like that. So that's just like, yeah, but from now on he knows that unless he kills Smoker off, no one else
Right.
can have that devil fruit, because Smoker has it. There's only one of each devil fruit, and he does that a lot, and he does that with everything. So even with like devil fruits that are like hinted at, like I don't I won't spoil anything, but there's a devil fruit, like the character that's introduced, and you see them using the devil fruit, but you later on, but it's never told. The audience isn't told what it is. They're just shown how it. They're just shown it, and that character isn't relevant again for like 400 episodes. But it's like, but he's just like, yeah, but I just did it then because it was cool, and then I just remembered that that's what they have, and you're like, yeah.
So it's not like the X-Men then, where two mutants can have the same abilities, like regeneration or whatever. It's like devil fruits is you absolutely cannot have the same thing.
Yes, but there is like limits of, like, there's some that are very similar but not the same. I'll tell you again, it's not really a spoiler. Just think,
It's fine.
You know that woman that has like the kilo fruit.
Yeah.
There is somebody later that has the ton fruit.
Okay.
So they have similar abilities, but there is no two people with the exact same fruit.
Okay.
So yeah, just for like, so like he gets around it a little bit, but yeah, there is only specifically one of each devil fruit. Like there was nobody else that's eaten the gum fruit. Luffy has eaten gum fruit. There's, mechanically how it works is like when somebody dies, that fruit is essentially reborn and like reappears in the world to be found.
Okay. The next saga isn't going to be as long as 61. I think it goes from 62 to 90, I think.
Wait, Saga? No.
Like, well, I'm only going off what Netflix does. So there's actually a couple of ones that they only have 2 episodes in it, so I'm a little bit confused.
No. So the next saga is Alabasta.
Let me just because someone actually.
It's 120 episodes nearly, I think.
Holy.
No. Sorry, I just googled it. That's how many chapters there are. Sorry, there are 75 episodes.
Nice.
74 episodes.
Okay.
Because Alabasta itself, I think, is like 39 episodes or something. Like the final island is like a big storyline that goes on for a very long time, and it's great.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely longer.
Okay. Going to leave it there.
Yeah.
Don't know. I'm probably gonna have to rewatch a few things before the next one that we do, because I know that today, I don't know whether it's just the fact that it's 60 odd episodes or something, that I just forgot a lot of it. But yeah.
Thank God I'm the encyclopedia of autism, and I'm like, I remembered this. Why? Don't ask how much of my life is now One Piece.
Yeah. Definitely going to be going out at Halloween as one of the characters, possibly Sanji. I don't know.
Simp for his wife.
Yeah. Yeah, she's gonna dress up as Nami.
Beautiful.
Yeah, because yeah.
In fairness, though, she wouldn't need to cosplay. If you're just cosplaying as like Sanji, as long as she's just a woman, it's fine. You're in character.
Right. Oh, is the stream still going? Damn! I hit the browser off earlier. Hang on a minute. Bugger. No, it kind of does because it's a live stream. Please. Good, it's still going. Okay. Alright, so thanks for watching, and Baller, what do you do?
Do I do anything? I do whatever I fancy. Me and Red, we stream a lot of games because we're bored. There technically are highlights of movies and stuff that we watch, but I've not done one of those for a while. At the minute, I'm fucking about with AI because it's entertaining to me. I will probably be doing more stuff with that in my free time because I am actually reducing my hours at work to have more free time with the dogs and for my sanity. So I'll probably be fucking around more. But I think if anyone finds my insight anything worthwhile, which you probably shouldn't, you're probably best checking me out on things like Mayo's channel and Yarp and Will like Pendulum stuff. You know what I mean? I hang around with a lot of friends. I bring people together on my Discord, and I love my group of special needs people.
Here's the sticky glue that holds us together.
I have dirt on all of them, so they can't leave. Yes.
Yeah.
Find the tank.
And Baller's channel is in the description if you so feel yourself inclined to check out more of his ramblings, as it were.
It's funny, like mostly the stuff that's worth watching that I'd recommend to people if they actually enjoyed me is the group stuff. So if you watch the podcast where we did all of Doctor Who was fun, or the highlights of the watch togethers. I don't really do stuff on my own because I always lose interest. The AI stuff's pretty fun though. You know, if you want to hear AI make autistic stories, I've started playing around with that just to get it to write me scripts, and that's always just really stupid. So if you want to giggle, have a look.
Yep.
They're like 2 minutes each, so you won't waste too much of your day.
All right. That's for now, and next week we'll be discussing Measure of a Man with yet another response podcast and seeing did the later Picard seasons ruin it. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Bye.
Bye.